Hello, and before you get started on this episode of Zapped to the Past, we would just like to give a massive shout out to the following people: Andy Marsh, Cole Hutchinson, David Hearn, Sven Osa, 2000 DC, Gary Heather, Roger McNally, Joshua Dove, Mark Fletcher, Etienne Vettingfeld, Niall Bullitt, Alexander Gosling, Tim TJ Walker, Phil Sowerby, Joshua K, Dominic Kendrick, Rune P, Steve Parant, Nick James, Daniel Spreadbury, Peter Price, Richard Davey, Dennis Breakhus, AL82 Retro, Liam Carew, Dylan Darch, Trevor Planner, Alistair McMillan, Mark Schutz, Lee Sparkles, Dan Wales, Gary Wilson, Oscar Jacobson, Brian Howarth, and Rob Clayton. These people have backed our Patreon at the C64 tier, and the support they offer is just awesome. If you want to join them and get a mention in next month's shoutout, access to our Discord server, early access to ad-free episodes along with any special releases we put out, along with anything else we can think of, then sign up by the 18th of the month at patreon.com/Zapped for little more than the price of a pint of beer. It helps us keep playing the games so you don't have to. And welcome to episode 108 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills, and I'm joined as always by Mr. Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. Last week, we looked at our second batch of games from issue 44 of Zap 64, which we are in no way affiliated with, and were horrified by Hopper Copper, shot at as the Slayer, and chatted vaguely to aliens in Captain Blood. This week, we continue our look at the games in December 1988, along with what was also going on in the UK albums chart that month. Graham, it's time for the cherry brandy, so inform us what treats Auntie Ethel may have bought to fill our stockings with.
Gather round me buccos and feast your ears on this week's chest full of video discs, which sadly are not compatible with our systems. We hop on our best wheel-enhanced plank board and powerfully thrust ourselves around and into some obstacles in Pro Skateboard Simulator, break all the known and unknown rules of soccer, and head for a thin kickabout in the horrible Peter Beardsley's International Football. That's the game that's horrible, by the way, not the football player. And we also take a magical and gun-toting trip past some aquatic line-dancing sharks and go all the way to Battle Island. I once knew someone who had an impressive whole room full of video discs, widescreen limited editions and all sorts. Sadly, time passing by means they're just rubbish now. In addition to all that, we take to the skis and the slopes and swoop around some flags as, like the game quality in 1988, we career helplessly downhill in Pro Ski Simulator. We shoot down some enemy yo-yo planes in the crapcom arcade version of 1943, pack our crampons, parka coat, ice ropes, ice picks, ice hammers, and a good old bottle of rum for a pokey trip across a glacier in Final Assault, before finally grasping our joysticks hard and blowing till our cheeks go red in the utterly weird Bubble Ghost. We're nearly at the end of the year, the penultimate episode of 1988 in fact, and the games go from crap to crapper. Ah well, we still have mistletoe and wine. She can sod off.
Yeah, if Auntie Ethel's bought some of these for me, then I'm disowning her. I'm divorcing her. I'm getting rid.
No, she's going to choke on a bit of pie, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You're going to find a rattlesnake in her slippers. Or a scorpion.
She's going to find a horse's head in her bed.
Yeah, exactly. And the horse's body will be in the fridge.
Shoved, really tightly packed. That's going to take some packing.
Yes, it is. But with a good-sized fridge-freezer combination.
Yeah, good chest freezer, maybe a chest freezer.
Well, the head is a disproportionately large part of a horse's physique. Take the head off and you could probably fit it into a small car.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a Fiat 500, though. It says on the actual manual for that, will not fit a headless horse.
Certainly not one of those smart cars where there's nothing behind you but air.
Yeah.
The outside.
That's it. There's only so much room for the hairdryers in those that power the engines.
I've never driven in one of them, but I don't think I would actually feel safe.
I could barely fit in it when I didn't test drive it on purpose. I actually had to move one.
I just turn around and there's just the open. It's just the outside.
The one thing I'll say is they're massively manoeuvrable. You can really get into the nooks and crannies. Then you ask yourself, why would I want to park there? You don't feel safe in them. It's like driving in any super small car there. When you go along on the side of an articulated lorry, you don't want to be smaller than the wheels of the lorry.
No, it's what we said back years and years ago, back in the day when we said about the Sinclair C5.
Yes.
The same thing.
Exactly
you don't want to be hidden by a hubcap.
No, you don't. Your blind spot needs to work in both X and Y.
Yeah, you're just in a spot that is invisible to all motorists.
You would be if you're literally not as high as the vehicle, and you're never going to be seen. Yeah.
No,
he was in the blind spot. Well, he was to the right here. Yeah, but he was too low. He was
too low. He's banging. Just banging away. Oh dear. Yeah. Well, anyway, this is a bunch of games that we've got coming up. We've got 7, and obviously the albums.
Yes, I was hesitate to call some of these traditional sense of game, but they're programs.
They're programs. They're things that run on a Commodore 64.
Yes.
It always pains me sort of thing when I put these lists together and I do the selections for each one because I don't know what they're going to be like. And this was a bunch that,
It's a random collection, but there we go.
I think Satan saw me coming with this lot. Anyway, should we get into them? Should we just get going?
Yeah, let's get going.
Power through this lot.
Yes, deep breaths, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive right in. And first up, Graham, you've got the pleasure of telling us all about Pro Skateboard Simulator.
Now, if those 3 words in that sequence don't make you want to do a shit immediately, nothing will. There's nothing Pro Skateboard or Simulator about this. Nothing. All right? And then, anyway, it's $1.99. So it is a budget game. All right? It's a $1.99. Cheapo. Codemasters, published by Codemasters, one of their simulator range of games.
Who else? They've copyrighted Simulator exactly. At this point in time. They must have.
It got 79% in Zapped. Quite effusive they were about this in their own little way, actually. Yeah. So, what's that all about? Created by Gavin Rayburn. Fresh from Poltergeist, I guess, or one of them, was it?
I honestly can't keep up with how many he's releasing. He's just shitting them out once a week.
He's a good, competent programmer. Title screen was by Stephen Day, and the musician was also Rayburn. So all good cast of characters there. So professional skateboard simulator then. Well, 3 guesses what you have to do in this. So skateboard around and that. According to the blurb, it's a short blurb. I won't go to. There's no story for this, obviously. The game is played over 7 levels, each with 2 parts: a 3D skate park section and an overhead cross-country section. There's going to be a lot of thoughts going into your head as I'm reading some of this, Eddie. The prevailing notion will be why, but just hold on to yourself.
Yeah.
On both parts of each level, your time remaining is indicated at the top left of the screen, and the number of flags left to pick up / skate between is shown on the top right. So the 2 levels. There is also, by the way, a mysterious 3rd mini game in here. So what that's all about, I don't even know where that fits in, but I did play it, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But we'll focus on the main game,
the Pro Skateboard Simulator.
Yeah, we'll focus on that bit for now. So you're up in the skate park. You're up against time. You must move lightning fast. Again, those questions are going to start flying in at a rate of knots here. To collect all the flags in the park before your timer runs out, don't skate onto the rough ground. That's just basic idea. You'll get a time penalty for leaving the tarmac. Sometimes you'll have to jump over rough ground to get to other parts of the park. You won't want to do that. If you come off the course, you'll be given a pointer. Put this where you want. After playing this for a while, I could tell you exactly where I wanted to put it, but unfortunately, I haven't got the creator's address. So put this where you want the skater to appear, then press fire to start skating again. Sounds all very simple, doesn't it? And then the cross-country event, and I could talk about the controls for this in a moment. In this part of each level, you have to skate cross-country to a finish post, just like skateboarders don't. Passing through pairs of flags, again, you are up against the clock. Be careful to avoid water, trees, and buildings. Just general advice for everyone, really.
It is, yeah.
Hit these, and you slam in a big way.
Slam. Big.
All right, that's it. 7 levels, 1 in sort of isometric, 1 not, and that's how you do the game. You've got to go through those, and then in the midst of all that, there's some kind of weird mini game. Anyway, so clearly borrowing from 720 Degrees to some extent. We have another entry into the skateboard collect 'em up canon. This time with the awkward to control Pro Skateboard Simulator. Lovely. Lovely. The title screen is a simple layout, logo at the top, high score options, and your player sprite zipping back and forth. Fire stats to game. There are other options. You can press 1 to 7 through 7 to change them. So you can change how many players, lives, joysticks, the usual kind of thing. Once you get into the game, the skate park area, the screen is split. The top 2/3 are your game window, where you will see the isometric brown/black slopes and hills of the first skate park. In the top left, as I said before, is your timer with 90 seconds clocked up. Top right is your number of flags needed. These are on the game screen in a digital format/sprite. So they're not like a font, they're like a little sprite, so they're over the top of the game window, which is nice. It's nice to do that. In the center is your skater. You control him with left and right to rotate, and up to push forwards. With repeated clicks up, sort of speeding you up. Pull back to slow down, or rotate when stood still. All sounds good. And I think fire button makes you jump, I think.
Jump, yes, it does.
The bottom third of the screen is the player 1 and 2 scores, the game logo, yet again, in case you forget what you were doing, and the number of lives you have remaining indicated with brown helmets. Well, I'm calling them that, okay? I'll go with that. They're brown helmets. That's what they are.
Helmet of purest brown.
Dirty brown helmet. Anyway. You must try and control your skater around the park, aiming to pick up the flags. Around the park are bushes, mud, potholes, roughage, all sorts of things that will cause you to fall off your skateboard. When this happens, your skater will turn into an arrow for you to indicate where to reposition yourself, and then you're off again. As there are slopes, you need forward momentum to get up the hills, and if you don't have this, it will make your skater do an immediate 180 and send you back down the hill you were trying to get up. This is annoying. Indeed, controlling your skater in this game is a pain in the arse.
Yeah.
If by some miracle you collect the flags, you are then transported to the next level, the cross-country event, which is a top-down view instead of isometric. Here, the game now scrolls upwards, and you must maneuver your skater left and right to get between all the flags before you hit the finish line. Up speeds you up, down slows you down, and the controls are really odd here, as pressing left and right kind of lunges your skater around, which means you'll hit obstacles like trees and fences and things regularly. Do this, and you will get that mini crosshairs again to reset your position. Again, you only have a limited number of lives and a short amount of time. And if again, by a miracle, you get past that, you are once again at the skate park to do that, and the country park level changes and makes it even more difficult, with hills and slopes that make you crash even more by moving your players suddenly. So on the second level of the cross-country event, you get these like little hills, and they've got slopes on them. If you go up the hill, it immediately tips you off the slope and you crash. So it's borderline. By that point, you're getting quite angry, I would imagine, if you weren't already angry at the first bit. So with all those sort of hills and slopes, things making you crash and moving you suddenly, you have no time or the ability to correct your course in time to do anything, so you're just going to keep crashing. Anyway, there's 7 levels of that, and apparently a minigame, which looked to me like an impossible version of Lemmings, with people walking onto platforms and you having to plug a gap to allow them safe passage. There are 4 gaps, 2 platforms, but only 1 plug, which sounds like a telephone number of a sex line I never want to be involved with. 4 gaps, 2 platforms, and a plug. Make of that what you will. Ew. No wonder we've got brown helmets. Anyway, enough of that. And you will quickly realise, after you've gone through that, there's no way that can actually be done anyway. It's an impossible thing.
Yeah.
The game graphics, the graphics don't look terrible. They don't look terrible. There's a lot of green and brown speckling, though, going on. The isometric details look okay. For a C64 game of this type and budget, they look okay. The park is somewhat empty, but it does scroll competently. Indeed, the game engine as such as it is, works. Works okay. The same applies for the cross-country level. I didn't think it looked too bad, though it looks more like a BMX game than it does a skateboarder simulator, with your skater being really tiny. So the camera for that view is several miles above the earth.
It's a helicopter view, isn't it?
It's a helicopter view.
Drone view.
Drone view. Which means that the speed that your skateboarder must be going when you lunge to the right and left, you must accelerate from 0 to about 160 mile an hour.
He must have calves that are as big as his, the biggest in the world. He's got calves that can power stations. Those things. It must be huge.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it doesn't actually look that bad, apart from obviously everything being quite minute. But again, I felt that at this point you're looking more like a BMX / overhead motorbike type view from that high up, and it could switch the sprite out, and you've obviously got that, really. Again, that one, like I said, it scrolls okay, though. There is a somewhat forgettable and repetitive soundtrack throughout. It's not amazing, but it exists in some kind of null space. I can't remember what it sounded like, but I know it was there. The main issue throughout this game is the picky and fiddly controls. Well, one of the many issues, but that's the main one. In the skate park, it feels too difficult to navigate your play around successfully, and everything feels like it's working against you. Everything. You crash and then you like crash, instantly crash, instantly crash, instantly crash. You try and turn, crash. You try and go 180, crash. You go up a hill, back down again, crash. It's like, just stop making me crash. I just want to go around. It's really hard to navigate. The turning circle when you're moving is too big. So once you get momentum and start to try and turn, your turning circle for a skateboard, which I imagine you can just kick on the back wheels and spin on the spot. You don't have to go in a giant Titanic-sized circle around the iceberg kind of thing. It's just a bit naff, all of that. So because that turning circle is too big and because you need momentum on those slopes, it just becomes a pain. And you just end up repeatedly crashing and respawning and choosing with the arrow and crashing and choosing with the arrow and crashing. And you can and will get caught up on scenery all the damn time in this game. I mean, there's no way around it. You know, you will do, and it's really annoying. Time penalties and everything else. The same thing applies in the cross-country level. The lunging and the zooming and the swooping controls quickly annoy. And the level design is essentially a pretty dull memory test, all said and done. So you get two bridges. You go up the wrong bridge, or you go on the one with the arrow and you fall off, and then you can't get back on that one. So it's just not very good. It's cheap. And I suppose there's some gaming to be had a little bit in here if you can tolerate the controls. I couldn't. I just found it progressively more annoying, and I bounced off it pretty quickly. The review in Zapped was somewhat over the top for this, in my opinion. I don't think this is anywhere near the 70s. This is 30s to 40s, maybe even less at best. It is not a very good skateboard simulation, nor is it a very fun game. Dreary is what I would brand this as. And I did not feel like I was a pro skateboarder, nor had I been simulated in any way in that fashion. So it was a bloody mess, a miss. It was a big misfire for me. But I'm guessing you loved it because you do love your skateboards, don't you?
I do love my skateboards, yeah. But, Rayburn, he's back. Isometric skateboarding. There's a bit of 720 and I think a bit of Skate or Die in this.
Skate or Die, that was the other one I couldn't think of.
Because the first stage looks like 720 with its black, blues and browns and blacks and stuff. And then the second stage, which is more colourful, reminded me of a bit more Skate or Die with its colours and stuff. So I think it's just a bit of both. But it's not as good as any of them. Neither part is as good as any of them. There's certainly a pace to this, but it feels like a budget game. The controls are a bit tricky to get used to. Just a bit.
Just a bit.
Just a bit. But I did manage to make it to the second stage where suddenly Up blasted me off like a rocket. And everything, just any slight touch of the joystick just make me go like I was in like, what's the fastest car in the world that went across the desert flats? I was like that. Because like you said, the distance you're seeing it from, the speed I'm moving, good Lord, what was that Discovery to was it whatever Richard what's his face? It's a really fast
it was
guy.
Like rocket car.
Yeah, the rocket car across the desert flats. It's like, it felt like that. It's weird, this game. It's a hybrid game, obviously two distinct sections, but neither of which are going to hold your interest for very long. I mean, both are pretty dull, and ridiculously stupidly hard because of the controls. Yeah, there's a lot of options. It's well put together, as one expects now from Mr. Rayburn. We've seen him get progressively better. He's probably peaked with Poltergeist, I think. But I think that's what I want. I want more shoot-'em-ups from him. I want him to see that Poltergeist thing and do that, not this. Don't do this.
Something tells me that Mr. Rayburn is never been on a skateboard.
I don't know.
Just guessing.
If he has, then I don't know.
Well, they're not famous for their cross-country events, I don't think.
No, and he's got very powerful calves, obviously. The little puzzle game that came with this, it was an interesting idea, but like you said, impossible to play because they came on at the same time and you had to have platforms in 2 points at the same point. This is not possible, the physical, so a bit annoying, but I thought there's actually the germ of a decent little puzzle there. It's just not thought about. It's obviously just a throwaway. I don't know. Is it a loading game?
I don't know. I don't know where or how it fits into the picture. I don't know whether
it's a loading game. Maybe.
But
I quite like the little visuals on it, little sleepwalkers and stuff like that. I preferred it to Pink Panther. Is that the title?
It's not saying
which
much,
isn't saying much. Yeah, Stink Panther. But yeah, so it's a really odd release. This. You're right. It's just below average in it. It's not particularly very good. It's a bit boring and a bit, the controls don't do it any favours. Just put me back on the track. Don't make me move a pointer, which you can't move up to the top where I might want to be because you've arbitrarily told me I can't move higher than what I am. Just move me back up. Put me back up at the top of the slope. Because if you start me on another slope, I'm just straight into the side again. Because you start me facing downwards. And when I say down, I mean down screen. Not angularly down screen. So I'm straight into the grass. Annoying. Very annoying. And stupidly controlling the second bit. There's nothing professional about this. No. Tony Hawk's, this is not.
Tony Porks. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, this is the no skateboard simulator. There you go. That's what this is. Oh, there we go. Even £2 quid's
really
not worth it. Let's move along. See if the next one's any better. I say it every week.
I know.
It never is. But, we didn't have a good first one this week because we're running out of titles this month. It's a very average to poor month. But surely, therefore, the law of averages say it's the next one must be better. This is Peter Beardsley's International Football. Full price, $9.95. All right, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent here. Just bear with me. Peter Beardsley was a very important part of the England international team of the late 80s and Liverpool as well when he played for them.
I imagine he was.
Very, very, very much. Very highly rated footballer. And I had a bit of an affinity for Peter Beardsley. We've mentioned before that I was fairly sporty as a teenager. We've mentioned it as in certain podcasts and stuff.
Yes, you were indeed.
And football was my game of choice. Right, I loved playing football. I absolutely loved it. I was never going to be Ronaldo, but I was pretty decent at a local level back then. Playing for my school, local team, Birmingham boys, and even Grimsby boys for a while. So, I was all right. At local teenage level, I was all right. I had a strike partner for most of these who scored a lot of goals, whilst I did not. I didn't score many more goals, but that was all right. The reason for this is that I played deep, whilst he played further up. So usually I would get the ball, play the pass through for him to run onto and score. So, yeah, he scored a lot. But without me, he wasn't going to score anywhere near as many, fundamental part of that link up between the midfield and the front man. So I was always about the team winning over my own personal glory, and that was important to me. All right. In that respect, that's why I felt this affinity with Peter Beardsley is he always played second fiddle to Gary Lineker or Ian Rush, I think, or John Aldridge. I can't remember which one he played with for Liverpool. Gary will berate me for this, but I'm pretty sure it was Ian Rush, maybe both of them at the time. So they all got the goals and the glory, but without Beardsley playing that role behind them, they're not going to get half the chances and goals that they did. All right. That's how this works. That's what Peter Beardsley was. So why am I telling you this? Because it's more interesting than anything about this nightmare of a football game.
You could tell me his shoe size and I'd be more impressed, to be fair, right now.
So, this was released by Grand Slam. There are no credits for this that I could find, and it doesn't surprise me. This is one of them things like, I'm not putting my name to that. No. Obviously, someone made it, but they're keeping very tight-lipped. And interestingly, this was renamed as Eurostar Soccer 88 in Germany and released by Areola Soft. So, why? I don't know. It was people thought it was good enough to release in Germany. You're like, have this. No, thanks. 9. When it loads, the oral horror is the first thing to hit you as a cacophony of football tunes assault your ears, with here we go, here we go, here we go being the first, and on from there. It's awful. It uses that tone that the Sid has that is like nails on a blackboard after a while. It's that really horrible early tone. It's like, awful. We've got some options, but none of them allow a quick game. There's no option in this just to play a quick friendly. Just a quick kickabout. None. Stupid. Instead, we can select the team for player 1 or player 2. We can set the length of the match. Play a 1 or 2 player league. Who wants to do this? Who wants to play a 2-player league? No one. Change the teams in the group or show the status of nothing. I thought, it's going to show the status of the group. Maybe the updates. Nah. Just shows you which team you both are and the length of time for each match. I've already sorted them. I've already done that. I know who's who. I don't need a separate menu option to tell me that. Starting a group is the only way to play. So doing this gets us into round 1, which is not how groups work. It's like, that's not right. It's just not. You have rounds in a cup, not a group.
Oh, dear.
So that annoyed me. Then the game starts. The music morphed into I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles, and my ears started to bleed. At this point now, I'm thinking, okay, the football could be all right. Okay, the sprites are blocky. They're not terrible. They're okay. The crowd is blurry. Does its job, I guess. It's not too bad. There are some adverts for the games from Grand Slam that are okay. They're kind of high res and they're all right. Pressing fire boots the ball forward and the whole thing falls apart. You can't pass as the players are all headless chickens. Control switches from player to player seemingly at random. You can't pass diagonally. It's always go out for a throw-in, which for some reason it feels the need to pop up an interstitial card to tell you that it's a throw-in or a corner or anything. Why?
Does, yeah.
I've seen it go off. I know it's a throw-in. It's stupid. Anyway, anyone that plays football knows it's a throw-in. I don't need to be told. The goal is beyond useless. Scoring is just a matter of walking the ball into the net. The goalie, you just walk the ball through the goalie. I put my goalie in front of their player and he just went, you don't exist. Physics, no. This is ridiculous. This is crap. The animation is basic on the players. They kind of have this sort of jerky, sort of rolly, shuddery shoulder motions like this.
Oh, it's really weird.
It's just awful. And although the scrolling is smooth, I'll give it that. The bounce of the ball seems to obey no known physics of this world. I don't know. It seems dynamic. Diagonals go for miles. Forward passes just like, I'm so weak. Awful. This is genuinely shit. Coming so soon after both Emlyn Hughes' International Soccer and that Superstar Soccer game, this feels egregiously bad. Peter Beardsley deserved better than this horror of a game. He really did. shite. I'll say no more. I like football, not like this. Not like this.
Not like that.
How did you feel about it, Graham?
Well, do you know what? I mean, I've made no secret of it. The football games, they're never my thing. But, this isn't a football game, is it really? I mean, even street sports soccer, even though it was vacuous and empty, you could still kick the ball about and pass to each other and that.
Yeah.
In this, it was just, it's just when as soon as you got the ball, run. It was like Forrest Gump's bloody football game. As soon as you got run, Forrest, run. So just running across, and he literally just ran into the goal.
Yes.
Like you said, the keeper, just run into the goal. I could not, trying to get the ball off their player was ridiculous because I'm not sure if I'm slower or he's faster, but it just didn't work.
No.
You can only tackle them. You can get the ball running off them, but they soon get the ball back, and it's just rubbish. The players are all kind of blocky, but thin blocky. They're thucky. We haven't seen thucky players in a game.
They're blin.
It's very strange. They're blin. They're all blin.
Blin and thucky.
And so the only thing I can imagine that Peter Beardsley's ever done is probably throw up when he saw this and thought this is the game that conjures up mini sick in your mouth. There's nothing footballing about it. It was awful. The music, horrible. Graphics, crap. Controls, rubbish. It's just nearly impossible to neither keep the ball nor do you really want to anyway. The shooting makes not that you can shoot really, but kicking the ball makes no sense. Now, I've kicked a football, admittedly not brilliantly, but I'm pretty sure I could kick it, a similar distance in any direction. For some reason in this game, if I'm kicking it on the x-axis, I don't seem to be able to kick it very well.
Nope.
But as soon as I come off that, that's it, I can kick it for miles, but never to anybody because the players are just like wandering around. Now, I've played football games with, the kind of people that wander around in a football game like that are people like me when I was at school. You didn't really know what they were doing and we didn't really want to be involved. So maybe this is a simulation of people who didn't really like football but got picked last in the teams and were put just in stupid positions that they didn't know what they were doing anyway. Maybe it's that. But Peter Beardsley wouldn't sign up for that. Rubbish. £10 though. Oh, come on.
Yeah, £10 for this. This takes me back to that bloody Arctic Soccer World Cup US Gold one, that nonsense crap. This is as bad as that. Really bad.
10 quid. Sorry. No. Just no. If this was sat next to Emlyn Hughes, God forbid you make the wrong decision there. I mean, it's a bit of Hobson's choice, isn't it? But some poor kids got stuck with this because they probably like Peter Beardsley and people didn't know, did their birthday presents and grandmas and stuff. Oh, you like Peter Beardsley? Here's this football game. Thanks, Grandma.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
We had that Gary Lineker one, didn't we, that won too bad?
Yeah.
Because it was that remake of that American one, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It was a re-release of the American one. It's like, once again, Peter Beardsley is behind Gary Lineker once again. He's like got the short end of the stick once again. Never gets the glory, he gets the shit.
I think this is the worst football game I think I've ever played. Certainly on the C64, I think. I can't think of a worse one. I mean, that's got a name brand, as it were.
That World Cup Carnival was pretty bad. And I know we haven't played it. We did look at it with that original match day game.
Yeah, I suppose none of those were great, but...
No. I'd even play that five-a-side one we played. Although that thingy one, remember five-a-side soccer for the early one?
Yeah.
That one, great. But even that, I think, was better than this.
Yeah, well, it functioned perhaps a bit better as a football game. This is no more a football game than any other... No. It has what looks like football going on, but I'm pretty sure that those poor blocky, well, they're not blocky, are those thucky players in that game there?
And the thing is,
they're so plain.
It's £10 at the arse end of 1988. We can kind of forgive those early ones because they're 1985 and everything, but the quality of software has, and like you said, we've just seen Emily Hughes and Scott's gone 11 aside, really good football. There you go.
Yeah, no, it breaks all the rules, this one, and I don't even know what they are, so rubbish, absolute rubbish. Absolute
garbage. Let's move along. No more Peter Beardsley for you. And that's a good thing. We've got one more game left. Let's get to it. And Graham, well, things can only get better, maybe. It's Battle Island.
Let's take a trip to Battle Island. £9.95 of your Earth money, this. But it only achieved 41%. This is from NovaGen. So this is from the people what made Mercenary.
And Encounter.
Gary Walton, coded by Gary Walton and Paul Wokes.
Well, it's based on routines by Paul Wokes, isn't it? It's one of the weirdest credits I've ever seen. Do they mean dance?
What does that mean?
Dance?
Dance routines, yeah. He could do some funky dance moves, and it's like, oh, that's brilliant. I can convert them into code.
So that's like
binary dancing.
Each hand up is a binary 0 or 1.
Wow. I tell you what, Paul, you're the master of the binary dance. Who would have thought your dance could have been converted into Battle Island? Anyway, the music here is by Mark Cooksey as well.
It is.
This wins the award for the crappiest tape cover we've seen in a while as well. I'm pretty sure that is an Action Man on the front of that in one of the Action Man suits.
I thought it was a cutout of a shot from some guy in the beginning of Andromeda Strain.
He's got the same outfit on. Look at that man's buttocks. It probably is that.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So here we go. Battle Island. So the background then. Battle Island. This is off their instructions. Battle Island is a remote mid-Pacific volcanic stronghold. A central moated enclave houses a neutron beam weapons base, now near to completion, so not working yet.
Nope.
Okay. So all that guff means is, they haven't built it yet. Learning of this threat to their tenuous peace, Earth's four superpowers, sent in a joint force to take Battle Island. Satellite pictures detailed the massive fortifications in place, but did not show the ingenious electronic weaponry deployed in support of the island's committed defenders. Then it's not very good reconnaissance, is it? The attack force was decimated. Its remnants are now held hostage in 4 compounds around the island. An agonizing decision is to be taken. Agonize. So I want to see some agonizing going on, please, Adrian. We need some barbarian-style agonizing. Holy agony.
We lost them on Battle Island.
Attack from the air will eliminate the threat, but cost the lives of the hostages and may well trigger a devastating nuclear explosion of the beam weapons base. Is there another way? So the briefing then. Your objective is to storm the island's central enclave and destroy the base structure, which is that's not a other way. That was the way you were trying. That's not another way. Is there another way we could do this? No. Stick to the first plan. All right. What about that risk of nuclear explosion? Bah. Anyway, on your way, release the hostages. I love that sentence. On your way, release the hostages, will you? You have a map prepared from satellite pictures. Locations where 8 key components have been abandoned are detailed. Possession of these is essential to establish Bailey Bridge. Bailey Bridge access to the central enclave. What's Bailey Bridge access, anyway? Useful equipment and additional supplies are scattered throughout the island. Extra weaponry can be captured from the island's defenders. You'll need to plan your route, as there's little opportunity for contemplation once the action starts. Get ready. Okay.
That sounds ace.
Yeah.
Why did we play that game?
Yeah. So this is another Commando-alike. Complete with sounding like Commando-y sort of sound, Aldi brand version. It's like they've tried to sort of inhibit some of the Commando stylings here. It's a really odd thing. The whole thing is odd here.
Yeah.
The title screen sees some bitty, badly drawn jungle trees with your half-assed Commando-like sprites and enemies running about. Not great. Start the game, and after a stirring, if abrupt, piece of music, end of line.
Yeah, it didn't actually put the message fully across. It says just get ready, player. And they haven't sent it, so I reckon it's supposed to say player 1.
Yeah.
But then they took out 2 player modes, so we'll actually get rid of that bit.
Yeah,
I need to censor it. No time. I can't dance that routine.
No time. Yeah, there's not enough binary dancing there. So once you do that, you're off. To start with, you must navigate a dinghy through some shark/fish infested waters for no reason whatsoever.
Whatever they are. Whales. I thought they were killer whales.
It's just the way they go backwards and forwards. I don't know what they are.
It's like dolphin.
Yeah, no. Why they line up, I don't know. It's unusual. It's unusual behaviour for fish, that.
Well, that's what you get when you're programmed to a dance routine. Those fish are doing the routine.
I felt like I interrupted them during their line dance, during the aquatic line dance of the sharks. Like, move your dinghy through, be quick about it. We've got the line dance to do here.
Taught by Billy Ray Sea Lion.
Well, they said, you said it was based on dance routines.
Yeah, exactly.
The sharks are just next things. That's why they're there. Anyway, so once you've done that, which you will die lots trying that because it's really annoying, but once you get through it, from now on, it's wide map commando.
Oh, so wide.
The pace is fast, but so wide. Everything's wide. You scroll up and left and right on this huge map, shooting at the enemies that pop up and run and shoot at you. There are fences, ditches, and stuff blocking your way, so you must navigate around looking for routes to the base, etc. The screen is split into the upper chunk, which is the large scrolling game area. Below that, you have a mini UI with your score and shield count on the left, a micro mini map, which is of no use, really,
none,
on the area in the middle. And to the right is your remaining numbers of lives, I guess.
It looked like a renegade puzzle piece from Impossible Mission.
It did, yeah. It's really stupid. It even scrolls as well, which is like it's tiny scrolling.
Yeah, but it's no good. No use.
It's like they've put the map on a sprite, and a high-res sprite. It's that useful, which is probably what they've done. And then, of course, at the bottom, you've also got the players have energy, and you've got remaining grenades as well. Control is joystick to move, fire to shoot, and spacebar for grenades, which here are like smart bombs. That's not how grenades work.
We seem to be saying that a lot. That's not how it works. That's not how groups work in football. It's not how grenades work.
If you throw a grenade, it doesn't kill everyone on their screen except you, generally. It doesn't do that. If they could do that, that would be really handy, I suppose, in war.
It would be very handy.
And if a weapon is that powerful and that useful to you, why wouldn't you just go on board with a boat full of them? Just lob them out. But no, so most of this is shooting and doing that. There's mini upgrades as well. And I say mini, they are tiny, because you'll sort of see this shiny thing. What's that? Oh, it's an upgrade of sorts. Not that they do anything, but I found machine guns. No, not for me. They didn't.
Did they give you some shield back? I think
I got the shield, but the boots. I'm not sure what they were for. Knives. Couldn't find my way to those. And the machine gun I picked up, and it gave me more machine gun, which I've already got.
Which I've already got. Yeah.
So, thanks for that.
Thanks. I've already got an unending machine gun.
Yeah, have 2 machine guns. I've only got space for one. Anyway, so you can collect them. It's not exactly sure what you collect them for, but you can. And that's it, really. You run around, shoot stuff, and try and navigate the massive map. This map, by the way, is 350 full screens.
I know it
350, that's massive. It's a big old map, that. And if you actually wait and when you start the game and don't play it immediately, you get like a mini version of the game, like a demo mode. It takes you on a little tour of the map.
I know.
And there's all sorts of stuff going on in there. There's like greenhouses, there was solar panels, there was the guy out sat having a poo in a shed, and the list was endless.
It's like sitting on a topless bus. Going around Cleethorpes.
Don't ever do that, by the way. It's really depressing. So the graphics are generally now. I'm trying to be not kind, but they are okay in the simple word of okay. So the sprites are kind of and you are kind of the same thing. They're micro bitty Commando clone sprites. They look a bit like Commando sprites if Aldi had drawn them or Lidl. So that's what they are. The background is mostly brown, but it's broken up with trees, fences, water ditches, and bridges, some other hazards. A bit like Who Dares Wins 2 kind of scenery. You know what we said last time about that game Purple Heart, where when they build bases in these Commando type games, they always build them the same way. Few fences, and then just mud huts. Periodically, they ditches and mud huts and micro bridges and things like that. And they always dig in. They always dig trenches. It's like, I'm not sure what, they've obviously watched a lot of films when they make these anyway. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what the environment's like. And it is massive. I mean, it scrolls around for ages. In fact, boringly so.
Yes.
So wandering around massive levels on foot isn't very exciting when you're doing the same thing a lot.
Nope.
And the game is also very difficult as well. Even with its sort of continues, it's actually quite hard because you die a lot. I mean, it's not like you don't, because the enemies, by the way, the logic for the enemies is that there is no logic. They just run around like crazy headless chickens, and that's difficult to contend with. They're like the random. If you're watching the film Rambo, and then when he attacked the base, they just all ran around in different directions and just shot in every direction. How do you contend with that? You're used to them trying to flank you and trying to hide and negotiate trenches. Not in this game, they don't. They just pop up all over the bloody place. Just running around. Oh, God, where did you come from? Anyway, at 10 quid, this is not winning any value for money awards. It's not dissimilar in a weird way to Purple Heart, I guess, although Purple Heart was cheaper, I think.
Maybe,
and it follows a similar, and I'm being kind here, but when I say it follows a similar logic to Fernandez Must Die, I mean that it's a large map. That's the only comparison.
Purple Heart was the same price.
Oh, so it's all full price. Well, Fernandez Must Die has a large map. Purple Heart has the kind of same sort of pointless endeavour to it. But this is nowhere near as good as either of those. This should be budget. This has got, I should be a budget game written all over it. This is no way this should be full price. It's offering absolutely nothing new. It's really at odds with every other game of this type because it's basically the same. It's mostly brown and yellow. So it's yet another mostly brown and yellow Commando clone, which we can add to the list. Fun, maybe. For 10 quid, I don't reckon so, though. Nah. If this was a budget game, it might have been possible, but it ain't, is it? So no, and it has got a crap cover as well, and it's obviously a double tape as well. So not only just rubbish. I don't care how good your dance routines are, Paul Wokes. You needed to do a bit more dancing.
Do some coding. Stop dancing and get some coding done.
Yeah, get some bloody coding done, will you? What did you think?
It's a bit of a strange. It's like Fisher Price Commando Rambo, isn't it?
It's a bit.
That's what it felt like to me. Like Fisher Price Commando Rambo variant. Just any kind of oomph. There's any kind of oomph to really make it enjoyable. Like you play Commando and Rambo, And Who Dares Wins is quiet, but Who Dares Wins has kind of a sort of quiet fun to it. This is just dull, boring.
Yeah.
Commander Rambo have their mute those great music scores to lift them up. It says none of that. The opening is odd. You row your boat ashore and then wander about an admittedly large landscape, shooting enemies and trying to figure out where to go through the narrow gaps. And they're like, I just got stuck all over the place. You're getting stuck.
Find my way around.
Stuck. The graphics are a weird mix of standard perspective sprites and isometric backdrops. That don't work. That's not good. They don't work well together.
No.
They're like that Rogue Trooper game we played a little bit.
Yes,
actually, except that kept the sprites in isometric as well. This just has Commando, so flat sprites on an isometric background, going up, down, left, and right, normal thing. But the background is off to the side, 45 degrees. Like, who built this? Why is everything up 45 degrees?
Was he dancing on a slope?
I don't know why. It's like when they built this sort of thing, they've had the map. It's what, the architect was leaning. Like,
maybe he's got one eye foot closer to the screen. He was like, ooh, and he's.
Just I don't get it. It doesn't work. Sounds and music are just a bit average. They're like that first game. I knew they were there.
They're in the void.
Yeah. I guess it may be technically clever with some nice dance routines and all sit in memory, but wandering about trying to find a gate or a way onward got pretty dull pretty quickly. I mean, these games rely on fast action. This has none of that. The action in this is really slow and boring.
No.
And like you said, grenade smart bombs.
No.
Don't know. That's not how they work.
That's not how
Give me
grenades
Fernandez
work.
Must Die any day of the week. It's way better. It's the best one I've seen. I think it's strange that we've had 3 Commando-style variants recently, though. I wonder what was in the water back then. What brought this around? Like, what brought the Commando variant back?
Yeah, was the movies or something, maybe?
I don't know. I don't know what it was, sort of thing. Because, Commando was, 85, 86?
Yeah, it's old, yeah.
So Rambo was aged. Rambo 3's out and about at this point, isn't it? So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But Battle Island, that cover was stupid. It's just too big and it's like, we've said this about loads of other games. What was that game we played ages ago with 2,000 boring similar screens? It's like, great, well done. Well done. It's a nice technical exercise, but your game is boring. Paul Wokes did Encounter. Encounter's ace.
It's a bit surprising, really. And when it says 350 screens, let's not be too kind. This is 350 different positions of offence, really.
Yeah, it's like looking at the British landscape. It's literally that. Look at all that land. Yeah, but it's just massive fields and some fences. Yeah, but
it's the Yorkshire Dales.
Oh,
it's the Pro Yorkshire Dales simulator.
Yeah, but look at it. Battle Island.
Yeah, look at all that sky.
And doesn't Battle Island as well? Doesn't it sound like a toy you would buy? Doesn't it sound like one of those things you would buy for like Action Force?
Yes, it does
a
bit.
That's why I'm on about the Fisher Price stuff. It feels like one of those add-ons. Buy the Battle Island for your Action Force figures, complete with launching missiles and dockable boat.
Well, they could have called it Blood Island or any one of the things that they've sort of semi-referenced in there. Now,
they could have called it boring isometric Commando clone, which would have been more closer to the mark.
Bic.
Bic. Bico. No, Bic, BICC. Boring isometric command. Yeah, it's made by sort of Rambaldi. It's Rambaldi. Commandaldi. Camaldi. That's what this is. Oh, it's not very good. It's probably, though, unfortunately, it's still probably the best one we played this part.
Oh, God, yeah, actually, which is depressing, isn't it?
Which is very depressing. That's it. That's your 3 for this first part. We can only apologise. We hope we've been entertaining because the freaking games haven't been.
No, they haven't.
So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back in a little bit. We've got the albums to go through, sort of thing. We're joined once again by Mr. Brown Sauce Wilson himself. So hopefully you will enjoy what's coming up. See you in a bit. Now, if I could just make it out past Dizzo. Don't think the cops will ever discover this contraband I'm carrying. I'm going to be rich. Wait, oh no, it's a police Viper.
Right, Cobra Mark III pilot, let's be having you. What's in the cargo hold then?
Nothing of interest, sir. Just some textiles and willow pattern plates from Lave.
Really? I see some books and audiobooks back there. David Hearn's Case of the Notorious Roboticist, Starfarers and Thanians in Space, and a copy of Back in Time for a Donut.
But I was hungry.
And you've got them in audiobook form and paperback. You know books are illegal in this system. No copy of Escape from the Commodore 64, though.
Well, I could grab it next time and maybe give it to you for your trouble.
On your way then, move along and watch out for Dargoids.
Oh, that was a close one. For more details on cargo just like mine, hyperjump over to davidhearnwriter.com. Now, just a dock at that space station without a docking computer. And we're back. We're back with the albums from December 1988. Just like last week, we are joined by a very special guest, Mr. Gary Wilson. How are you doing? How's your week been?
I'm very fine, thank you. Much better this week.
Hiya. Good to know.
That's good. That's
good. Let's hope you're not one of your own predictions, but he's dead. This is going to be really weird. So yeah, Gary has joined us again. We're going to go through the albums. There are not many of them. So, it is what it is. But let's get into it, I suppose. Number one, for the first 2 weeks of the month. Now that's what I call Music 13.
There's a lot of good songs on this one. I mean, it's interesting that this now I think you said in the podcast before, now compilations have taken over the world, really, haven't they? They're just, you don't need to buy the singles anymore. Just wait for the Now album to come out. But interestingly enough, I think a lot of the versions on Now, they were all edited to get so many singles on one side of an LP.
Funny if I was reading about it the other day. Yes, they were. A lot of them were cut down.
Yeah, 50, they were.
Was that on the album version? I presume. Yeah. Double albums?
Yeah. So even on the CDs nowadays, they're still edited down. You're not getting...
famously, if you find whichever Now album's got the version of Under Pressure by Queen on it, you'll notice that it's missing a great chunk of the song, and that's where I first noticed there was a difference.
Yeah, they chop and change them to force fit them onto the side, and it's not a bad one. This one, 13, it's got a lot of dance music on. It's got Salt and Pepper. It's got D-Mob, the Beatmaster.
No, it's only got Salt. There's no Pepper, and it's got Shaking but no Stevens.
Well, yeah, exactly. They were edited.
They've cut them down.
Sorry, Pepper.
Exactly.
Gone. You're out.
Girl You Know by Milli Vanilli.
It's just Millie.
No, it's just Girl You Know. It's not. It's true. Just Girl You Know.
Duran became Duran.
Exactly. There's only so much room on this album, so we couldn't have half of you.
It's got the twist by Chubby Checker. They just couldn't fit the Fat Boys in.
It's all right. It's not a bad compilation. I guess at the time you'd put it on the...
Killed the charts, though.
It
killed them for the first 2 weeks, because after the first 2 weeks, we were back to the man himself for the last 2 weeks of... this man owned Christmas this year, because it's Cliff Richard's Private Collection is number one for the last 2 weeks.
I kind of live in charity shops looking for music, and I must see this Private Collection album literally every time I go into a charity shop. And
do you ever buy it?
No.
I mean, you could be doing us all a favour, buy it so nobody else can.
Well, I'd be spending 50p every other day. I can't.
Yeah, it's fine. That's okay. You're doing your part for society. Yeah, exactly. And then make them into some kind of Private Collection resistant suit and wear it with pride.
It's a crap album. It's basically a private collection of songs that are from 79 to 88. And when I looked at the track listing, I think I knew 2 songs. I couldn't tell you what it was.
We don't talk anymore.
Yeah, and there's another one, a Mistletoe Wine's on it, isn't it?
You'd know Wired. You know Wired for Sound?
No, don't know it.
Yeah, you do.
I might know it if I heard
for Sound. You would know Wired for Sound.
Oh yeah, I know it now. You sung it so well. Thanks.
Still none the wiser, but yeah.
Just Suddenly with Olivia Newton-John.
No.
Slow Rivers with Elton John.
No.
He's only singing with Johns.
Yeah. Please don't fall in love
Mistletoe Wine with Jilted John.
Please don't fall in love with Bobby Johns.
That's not on there, is it?
The song is, but I don't know who Bobby Johns is. I might have just made him up, or her. Who knows?
No,
we don't know. It's his private collection of Johns.
Yes.
That's what it is.
That's a bit rude, isn't it? A John is something else.
It's the toilet.
No, it's just a name.
No, John is
your mind is a filthy, perverted,
John is a prostitute.
Nightmare. I know what it is, but I wasn't referring to that, Gary.
That wasn't meant that way.
No, it's just people with the name John. Like I just said, 2 of them.
Yes.
Olivia and Elton. And Bobby. Don't get Bobby.
It's not for us, is it?
That's why we don't mention his private collection. It always leads to trouble.
It's not for us. It's for octogenarians who want him and watch his tennis court madness sing songs repeatedly every other week. It's for
Do you
them,
think
not for us.
when you become an octogenarian, should you last that long, you'll be listening to this?
No, I will still be listening to Happy Hardcore.
No. It's the last thing that Cliff Richard wants is Gary's underpants thrown at him, whatever age he reaches.
Because Cliff Richard is the ever-living. He'll still be alive. He'll still be touring. So, yeah, you can go see him, Gary, and throw your long johns at him. Because he likes,
Thank you for your underpants.
He likes johns. He's got a penchant for long johns.
A penchant for long johns.
That's his French album.
Bonjour, long john.
I mean, the thing about Cliff Richard is that isn't he the only artist to have charted since the 50s?
Every decade, isn't it?
Every decade.
Yeah. Have a number one or something.
He's part of the social, the cultural landscape. And I don't know. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
It is. It's very British.
Very British. I mean, the French have like Johnny Halliday and Serge Gainsbourg and so on.
Very British, Gary.
And we get Cliff Bloody Richard.
Yes.
Oh, God.
We get what we deserve.
Yeah. We bloody deserve.
That's true.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, God.
4th of December, new albums. Hold Me in Your Arms.
So if we get what we deserve, we've been bad boys, and now we've got this.
Well, you have. We know that. We've seen the evidence.
It's just. Oh God!
Did you hear me? Number 8, Hold Me in Your Arms. Rick Astley.
Rick Astley. I kind of like the idea of Rick Astley without actually appreciating the reality. You know, he's done some good songs, but this second, you'd say it was his sophomore album, I guess. His second album. I flicked through the songs and it was just piss awful.
Yep.
I mean, just I think you've mentioned on this podcast before that in all the videos for these songs, he appears to be interacting with taxis quite a lot.
Yeah, he's always getting out of a taxi, yeah.
I'm going, every song I'm getting out of a taxi. What's that all about?
Very busy guy.
It's just really, really bad. I mean, they released 5 singles from this album, and all of them are totally crap.
Should have changed his name to Rick Ghastly for this one.
Rick Ghastly, yeah, exactly. Rick Ghastly, not good. And but fair play to him. He's still bouncing around. He's still part of the cultural landscape, hanging around with Dave Grohl and so on and so on. So
he popped on stage with the Foo Fighters, didn't he? Did
you know about that song? Apparently, I saw an interview with Dave Grohl, and he said, we just saw him standing in the crowd, and we just decided to pull him in. And which is why when you watch the video, Rick Astley doesn't really have an idea what's going on. And Dave Grohl afterwards said, we thought that, Smells Like Teen Spirit is actually a very similar song to, what's his most famous one?
Never Gonna Give You Up.
Yeah, Never Gonna Give You Up. And he's like, they're two. And then someone transplanted the two together. And actually, I can see what Dave Grohl's saying. Good luck to them.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
In at number 25 is the Thieving Magpie, which is what people call him, Marillion.
Aye.
Because he's always nicking around, stealing stuff, the dirty tramp.
Yeah, he was a dirty little tramp.
I quite liked a bit of Marillion at that time, I have to say. One of my favourite albums was Misplaced Childhood.
Shut up.
I don't like a lot of Marillion, I have to say, but that album, for some reason...
No one does.
I love it. I love that album.
I don't mind the one with Dilly Dilly in it.
Lavender, yeah.
Lavender's fine.
I really like that album for some reason. I heard it late 2000s, and I was never into Marillion at all, and I don't really like a lot of their stuff, particularly post-Fish leaving. But that album I just really, really like. It's really good.
For starters, wash your mouth out with soap. Don't humour him. He's a dirty tramp, and it was inevitably going to leave because he got caught. He's a fish. It's obvious it was going to happen. At some point, he was going to chase after a maggot, and that was the end of that.
Well, he's going to get hook mouth.
He got battered and good.
He ended up as yesterday's news. Number 57 is Remote / The Bittersweet by Hue and Cry. That's a pun title, isn't it?
I think The Bittersweet was a separate album.
Is it?
Yeah. Bittersweet was released in 89 and Remote was 88. So I went and had a listen to Remote and flicked through them because obviously they're one of your favourite blandcore bands. And God damn it was so boring.
Yeah. Bland, by any chance?
There was a song called Looking for Linda, and I have no idea what the hell was going on with Linda. The video was some woman on a train, and I couldn't figure out what was going on, and I don't really know what to say.
No,
exactly.
I think, kind of acid house and rap and whatever should have washed all this crap away. So
it is doing, but it takes a little bit of time.
It's taking time.
It's like we've seen with the hair metal stuff. It all you get the last dregs of stuff. So this is the end of 1988, 1989. This stuff is going. Hair metal's going. There's
Gary,
other stuff coming through.
It's like when you've done the shit on the toilet. When it's flushed, some of it stays there and it just takes time to go.
Okay. I get it.
That's what you call the bittersweet.
Yeah, Hue and Cry. I never had any great love for them at all.
No one did. In at number 62 is Smashes, Thrashes and Hits.
I think I kind of made that point, didn't I? That this was the last throw of the dice for these kind of bands. And I actually watched a couple of videos. It's basically just a bunch of hot women prancing around. And that's it.
They will go on for another year or two, probably another year, because it'll take, Smells Like Teen Spirit to stamp.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Stamp them out properly.
Yeah. I think that's a really.
Although
good
they're
point.
still going.
Yeah, they are still going. But I mean, as in the hitting the charts, being the big thing, being what rock was.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It all changes with the Seattle sound and everything when that comes through.
Well,
sort of in 1989,
I suppose
1991.
Our perception of it does. I think all it did was just drive it into the hands of its fans. Kiss has remained, and they still fill stadiums even now, and always have. They've always been a big, massive live band.
The big bands always will.
If they get to number 62 in the UK charts, it makes no difference to them, because if they put on a gig, they fill it instantly with 60,000 people.
But if you go to a Kiss track or anyone like that, Skid Row, Bon Jovi, all those kind of bands that were that kind of thing, if you go there and they did nothing but play their latest album, I would guarantee you that crowd is going to be nothing but disappointed, because you go to see those bands for the songs they released in the 80s. That's what you see, 70s and 80s.
But I don't think you can put Kiss in the same.
No one goes to see Kiss to hear the new stuff.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying you can't put Kiss in the same category as Bon Jovi's and stuff like that. Not really.
No, they're a long-serving band. I know they've been going for years. It's
not the long-serving part. They're just in a servitude to their fans. That everything they do is in a dedicated play to their fan base. They know exactly how to work that fan base.
Yeah,
good on them.
I mean, I think that's not
overly
dissimilar to people like Marillion, who've actually they use their fan base to fund their albums. Through.
I told you, stop talking about that Dirty Tramps band. We don't like them, and we never will. They're not welcome here.
I remember because Rush in their early years, they used to tour with Kiss quite a lot, and they were the support band for them. And I remember there's a video. Watch one of the videos, sort of thing, one of the recent documentaries on Rush, and they asked Geddy Lee about, what was it? What did he think to Kiss? And he pauses for it. And he went, "They were quite hard working," and that's all he says about them.
So on the same bill, you've got a cerebral kind of
early Rush, you've got early prog Rush.
Yeah.
Can't imagine that.
They're doing like 5/4 jazz time chord progressions and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And then you've got the next song. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm going to have your pussy on a stick type song.
Well,
pretty much. What? Who put that bill together?
So that's me.
I have to say, other than a handful of Kiss songs, I couldn't name you any.
No.
But if you speak to an actual proper like Kiss fan, they'll be able to name you every album, every track, every single. They're really dedicated. Their fan base is an amazing fan base. I imagine.
Yeah, fair play. I know, I'm not knocking.
But with Rush, I can't imagine that. We saw them with Primus. I mean, that was an oddball mix as well. Yeah. So good I think
there's a bit of crossover there. But it's an interesting comment. Just turn around and they were hardworking.
I can imagine they are hardworking. But not. If you've seen them now, goodness me, I saw a recent footage of it. Looked like Gene Simmons he did actually, I think, almost have a stroke on stage, didn't he? They stopped a gig about an hour in because he just basically sat down and he just almost passed out. These guys are getting on. It's taking its toll on them.
Well, I think actually that there's quite a lot of rock, should we say, heroes that are now well into their 70s.
Yeah, they need to slow down a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you've got like Rolling Stones and stuff, like who are, I don't know, how old are they now? They must be.
Yeah, they're all like
ridiculous.
Dylan is 81. Springsteen is 70. Yeah, well into his 70s.
We've realised that Mick Jagger is living spaghetti, and and. What's his face? Yes. Keith Richards is just a load of ants.
Made of ants, yeah. Keith Rich Ant.
Keith Rich Ant. On that note, what were these song titles anyway? Just because let's put the X in sex, and you make me rock hard.
But they were a couple of the tracks from the album because it's a compilation, obviously.
Yeah.
And one song's called "Let's Put the X in Sex." Now, I don't think that's a commentary on the Pol Pot regime in Cambodia or anything, is it? And
hope not.
You make me rock hard with you make me in parentheses, like it's meant to be kind of some kind of clever thing to do. You make me rock hard. Da, 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 da. Now, do they mean you make me rock hard as in I'm going to play really hard rock music? Or does it mean that he's going to, is there a sexual suggestion?
It's going to become
you to figure out. That's for you.
I've got to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
God,
that's it.
I like things to be presented to me on a plate. Obviously not kiss his penis.
I'm sure you do.
Here you go, sir. Oh, thank you. I ordered the peanut la kiss.
Oh, put it away.
Does it come with a bread roll?
As long as the tongue, I don't want it.
Would sir like some dip?
Ew.
Chocolate sauce.
God's
Brown,
sake, no.
please. Brown.
No, I mean, I know. Actually, Adrian, you used to play Crazy Nights. Was it Crazy?
I still like. To be fair, I still like.
I still like it. I still love it. I think it's a great
rock and roll
song.
to you. Still another great tune.
These are crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, just brilliant. It is a brilliant song.
Probably there's the one covered by the Donnas, which I quite like. But again, I prefer the Donnas cover.
The Donna Kebabs.
Yeah, the Donna Kebabs. Yeah.
The Donnas is what they're on the Now 14 as.
I think it's Strutter. I think it's the song. But yeah, there's not much else. There's a couple that I used to play that were on Rock Band. They were quite good. But anyhow. In at number 70 is Flag, as you mentioned, Gary, by Yellow. You mentioned that last week.
Yeah, I think I said that Yellow, one of my favourite bands. So Yellow basically started off as two engineers, Boris Blanc and Carlos Perron. And Carlos Perron left quite early on, and they brought in a chap called Dieter Meier. And Dieter Meier was a bit Swiss, and Dieter Meier was basically from a very rich family, and he was a bit of a raconteur, a bit of a gambler, a bit of a what should we say, kind of a flambeur. So he's loaded. They decided to put all these albums together, and it's such an eccentric story of these two guys who've made some of the most eccentric electronic music of all time. And they are unique. I don't think there's very few people like them. And what the curious thing about their albums is that they don't actually sound like electronic albums. So when you listen to them, they've got, and particularly this one, is that it sounds like there's a lot of samba, there's a lot of Latino rhythms, and all of it was done on a computer processed through the Fairlight and various other electronic instruments. So what you think you're hearing is a massive samba band is actually Boris Blanc and his computers. And they're weird, that kind of mixture of that and the eccentricities of the whole kind of thing. And this was actually the second CD that I ever bought. The first CD I ever bought was Waiting for Cousteau by Jean-Michel Jarre. And the second one was this one in 1990. And I've been huge fans ever since. And this, I think, is just an absolutely fantastic album. It's the album that the second most famous track after Oh Yeah, The Race comes from, which has been utilised in dozens of films.
It's got the...
And again, that whole kind of thing, it's like the horns and everything, all created through computers. And these guys, they're quite unique, I think, in what they've done and how they've presented their sound. And I think this is just a brilliant album. Absolutely brilliant.
Yes, I agree.
All right.
Good stuff.
Good to know. At number 74 is Everything by the Bangles. Is that Everything by the Bangles? Just everything.
Probably.
Everything we've ever done. Just all in an album.
There's a lot on it.
There's 13 songs on this, and I only really knew one. Obviously, the famous one.
Which one? Walk Like an Egyptian.
Is that on this one?
Manic Monday.
Is that on this one?
I don't know.
I don't think it is. I think it's the.
You said you did one of them. I'm just trying to get.
What's it called? The slow ballad. It's gone from my mind now.
Oh, Eternal Flame.
Yeah, Eternal Flame. That's the only song I recognise. The other famous songs were off another album. And this was I started to listen to them.
Well, is this an actual album, not a compilation?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's a studio album, yeah.
Yeah,
all right, okay.
So it's literally only got Eternal Flame on it that I recognise. The rest of it, no idea.
All right. Well, to be fair, they didn't really need to do anything else apart from Eternal Flame, did they? Because it was massive.
It's so massive. And it is a good song. It is a good song. And fair play to them. But the thing about the Bangles is that the poor Banglets, the other three, they've been overshadowed completely. Nobody remembers the other three other than Susanna Hoffs.
That's what kind of split them up.
What? They didn't like her. She's got all the attention.
Yeah, exactly. That's what led to the demise of the band.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah. The record company were focusing on her over the rest of the band, weren't they?
But she didn't have a solo career, though, did she?
Yeah,
I don't remember any of her own
Susanna
songs.
Hoffs. I'm not sure.
No, I don't think she did. I don't remember a single song that Susanna Hoffs
I
released.
remember her for saying "what like an Egyptian" in a really sultry way and going, "Wow, she's good looking."
And doing that little cliche dance of like pretending to be Egyptian type business.
Yeah, they didn't dance like that. They didn't walk like that either.
I'm sure
It'd be really awkward to walk like a crab.
They don't do that. They don't shuffle their feet backwards and forwards and do that pointy hand thing.
No,
they don't do
they
that.
don't. Put hands in front of that. No one does that. It's just stupid.
No, and when they drew people on the, when they did all the hieroglyphics, they weren't representations of people dancing either. There's
this is how we walk. Draw me like
just
I
can
walk.
you imagine it? It's like, and though they did decry, the great god Horus did dance the steps. It's like, what?
He did. Why have you drawn a dog-headed god walking like a crab?
Only because their language didn't read that way, didn't it? So they didn't walk up to like to go and order a burger. It would be hawk, wing, bat, fly, man, spear. It wouldn't. They didn't speak in hieroglyphic.
That's just a list on the menu.
Yeah.
Hawk burger, please.
They didn't speak in hieroglyphics. They're just stupid.
No, it's not, I don't think that's a classic album by any stretch of the imagination.
No. I think it's also on the Bangles are clearly on their way out at this point as well.
True. 11th of December is in at number 32 is G&R Lies by Guns N' Roses.
Second album of theirs.
It is. I thought this was just a sort of because it's really short, isn't it? It's like only 33 minutes long.
Yep.
It's a really sort of blasty, sort of punky. Yeah. The only one I recognise on it is Patience.
Yeah. The weird thing with this, I think, is that it exists in a really odd space and time, that album. So I think because a lot of things are coming to the end, it felt like this album because the tracks were really big off the first album, and then this one came out at the wrong time when things were just changing a bit. Then obviously Use Your Illusion came out a bit later, but I think this particular album and their output at this point was just forgettable. It just got forgotten in time. Weird.
Yeah.
I don't know any of this. What singles were famous from this?
Patience.
Exactly, none. It wasn't really, but I think people were still rocking out to the first album's tracks. I think people like those.
Yeah.
Because
Paradise
City was around for ages. And ages.
So what's this? Live Like a Suicide. The first 4 tracks consist of the previously released EP Live, Like a Suicide. These 4 tracks were also included as bonus tracks on the 2018 issue Appetite for Destruction. And the last 4 songs were recorded with acoustic guitars. It's a stingy. It's not a proper album.
No, it's not. It's
like the Mission second album, First Chapter, which is just a load of extra stuff, singles, extra, bonus tracks. It's that all just shoved together to be. It's just to ride on the coattails of the success of of the first album. It's
a filler until they can actually get back and do something else.
Until they did Use Your Illusion 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. It's not a proper album.
The traumatic production of those albums is well recorded.
Yeah. Then at number 50...
Quite late, weren't they? Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 were delivered really late.
Yeah, 91, 92 they came out. They're post-Nirvana, I think, aren't they?
Massively late when they were coming out.
Yeah, but didn't hurt them, did they? They went in at number 1 and 2 everywhere, somewhere, most places, didn't they?
Yeah, there was quite heavily rotation with those, weren't there? Live and Let Die was a big hit for them on that one.
Yeah, there's tons of stuff up those two. Number 50 is The Greatest Hits of House by various artists.
It's a good compilation.
Look, Gary's actually got it.
Well, of course
What's that say? 32 mega house hits at the top there.
That's what it does. I mean,
hits.
It's one of those house compilations, isn't it, from the late 80s where they just got loads of tracks and put them on. You either like it, you don't really, isn't it? It is what it is.
And in answer to your question, you asked did you have it on tape? Yes, you did, because it was one of the first things I ever copied, tape to tape, with the very first recorder I had that did tape to tape. So I know that you definitely had it, because I remember getting it off you. That and House Hits 88.
House Hits 88, and that one, and there was another one that I had. What's it called? I had about 3 or 4 of them. And we used to play them constantly in your bedroom while I sat there watching you code, reading magazines and sitting on your bed. And going, this track's good. This one's got Bomb the Bass on. It's got Bomb the Bass on. It's got Cold Cut. It's got the Jungle Brothers on.
Remember us getting very effusive about Jack to the Sound of the Underground as well.
Jack to the Sound of the Underground.
God, you two. I remember that. Hit House seems to be missing a letter at the beginning. In at number 53 is Gary, is My Gift to You by Alexander O'Neill.
I don't own this one, I'm glad to say. I actually flicked through quite a number of these songs on this, and it was, I think, no, not for me. Not for me.
Don't worry, your tears say more than words ever can.
You made a note here, Gary, that all copies of this should be burned, and in fact they are. I found an entry in an obscure wiki in the village of Lower Luxton in Devon. There's an annual event known by locals as the Crumpo. After an initial ceremony where the oldest virgin in the village claps 3 times over a sleeping dog and throws a tomato into a nearby field, the village official recites the call of the Crumpo. At this point, all the villagers bring their copies of any Alexander O'Neill album and they throw them down the village well, where they are then set on fire. So you got your wish.
That sounds fair enough. I think at the end of the day,
so if you want to get involved, pop to where there's a website. And you can pop to Lower Luxton and go and join in, yeah.
And you go and join in the Crumpo.
The Crumpo. Yeah. Definitely. I'm all up for that. I mean, Alexander O'Neill, he's obviously vaguely talented. I give him his dues and stuff. But
vaguely.
It's just...
It's not our
it's
thing.
It's just too smooth, isn't it?
It's not our thing.
So smooth.
We just have to
so smooth.
So smooth.
I was, 17, 18, and I certainly wasn't being smooth with anyone, I'll tell you, at this time.
No, but if you need to go for a big... if you need to go for a big, Brad Pitt, sticking on a bit of Alexander O'Neill, you wouldn't have had any of those painful moments, would you? It would have just shot at you like a bloody torpedo, like a greased torpedo.
It's been so smooth.
That Greased Torpedo was the album that came after My Gift to You.
And then there was Brown Seal. At number 71, Hold an Old Friend's Hand by Tiffany.
Cack.
She's too young to have an album that title.
Yeah, I thought exactly the same thing. At the end of the day, she's just how old was she at this point? 17, 18?
Yeah,
she's not very old. Yeah.
She's obviously appealing to young men of our ilk at that time. But the music is just, I don't know, it's just...
She's bland and shite.
She's all shoulder.
I think we're alone now. Yeah, it's all shoulder, yeah. I mean,
she's very shruggy.
Very good shoulders.
Shruggy. Not very good voice, though. She's clearly straining again.
Her shoulders were better than her voice, but
Shoulders the name of a character in her.
Shoulders is in Big Bus.
It's a Big Bus.
Yeah, Big Bus, that's right.
He falls asleep driving a nuclear-powered bus.
Yeah, that's right.
He falls asleep whenever he gets over tense, doesn't he? When he gets too panicked. Look out.
I need to watch that film. That is genius, that film. It's obviously a shameless... Is that what it's from? It's a shameless.
That's where that's from.
Yeah.
It's a complete rip-off of the Airplanes Zucker humour, but it works quite well. I'm going to have to download that. Buy it from...
You're going to have to obtain that from a legitimate source.
I'll get it from a legitimate source and watch it again. But Tiffany, apparently Tiffany, I saw something on Twitter, is in one of the shark movies, like Sharknado or whatever, and it's Debbie Gibson and Tiffany in this shark film. Like, what producer sat there and was like, literally, we've got, I don't know, $1 million.
That's literally Rick's wet dream.
It is, yeah. It is his wet dream. It is completely his wet dream. A shark movie, Tiffany, Debbie Gibson. Like, seriously. And Tiffany battles the flying sharks or something. I mean, it's just madness. Who comes up with this crap?
I sense a great tremor in the force.
It's going to be out there somewhere. Maybe some of
all at once, and then
maybe some of your listeners have actually watched said film and can let us know on Discord.
It'll be Sharknado, Shark Attack, Shark 3.
Go Shark in my toilet.
I think we're fishing now, and so on and so on.
That's another title, yeah. That's another one.
Yeah. Shake your shark.
Shaky Sharky.
Sharky Stevens.
I can't think of any.
That's what we said before when it was when Fergal Sharky and Shaking Stevens did a duet.
Sharky Stevens.
Shaky Sharky, wasn't it?
Shaky Sharky. Oh dear. Finally, the last album, number 85, Once More Into the Bleach by Debbie Harry and Blondie. Bah with that pun title. Bah.
I do like a good pun, but I mean that isn't a particularly bad one. It's a bit of a bad
once one. More into the it's unto anyway, but once more into the bleach.
The bleach.
I don't like the fact that because at this point it does annoy me, and I get it, but it kind of annoys me sort of thing that like we said about the Bangles, the focus had all become Debbie Harry when yes. the main and no, get me wrong, she's an incredible front person and brilliant singer and everything like that, but it was the band. It was Blondie the band. Yeah. The staccato beats, that amazing drumming, the great guitarring. It was all that made them what they were, not just Debbie Harry. And it feels a bit, because let's face it, Debbie Harry's solo career.
Yeah, but it depends. If you're talking about Parallel Lines' version of Blondie, that's a total studio production. That everything about that is a guy in the studio recorded a single drum hit, a single snare hit, and pieced that together bit by bit to make it sound that way, which is why it sounds like it does. The other Blondie stuff, I totally agree with you. But that album, it's because they wanted more of Debbie Harry at the front. They wanted her to get more of the attention.
That's fair enough.
But you're right, because when she did her solo stuff, it wasn't so good, was it?
But you saw, if you ever saw them live, if you see them live, they're a bloody machine-like.
Good band,
they're
really
incredibly
good.
Like.
I think I can only think that on that album is maybe there's a separate Debbie Harry solo release on it, and which is why they've had to title it as Debbie Harry and Blondie.
Yes, must be some weird contractual. We've spoken about it before, but we've come across such weird contractual anomalies in the music biz when we've been talking about albums and when we've dug into them a bit, where they've had to record a certain thing so they could be released from a certain contract and all that kind of guff, and it's probably something to do with that.
And I did read that apparently a lot of the tracks on this are remixes or separate versions. The whole thing was a bit of a cash grab.
Go back and listen to the original albums.
Well, just looking at the track list, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tracks by Blondie, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tracks that are Debbie Harry.
It's got French Kissing on, isn't it?
French Kissing in the USA, Rush Rush, In Love with You, In Love with Love, The Jam Was Moving, Feel the Spin, and Backfired are the Debbie Harry track.
Does anybody else know any of those songs other than French Kissing?
No, you got The Tide Is High, Rapture.
The Jam Is Moving. What the hell was that? Was it called The Jam Is Moving?
Call Me, Heart of Glass, Denis. Yeah.
I mean, Blondie's brilliant. Blondie, that album, Parallel Lines, and those classic singles, fantastic. But this everything after, and then they came back, didn't they? They came back with Maria.
They tried.
Was that like late 90s, or was that
noughties? Wasn't it?
Was it noughties?
I don't know.
Nearly noughties, I think.
Maria, and they're back. And actually, I saw a couple of documentaries.
1999, Maria.
99, and Debbie Harry on these documentaries was so dull. She was just so boring. Like, just spoke in a very monotone voice. And I was like, oh my God,
Well, I think that was a lot more interesting when she was, when she was living in the slum in New York, doing it in the old-fashioned way.
I think that was
a bit like me.
That was some part of the singing that she did as well. Sometimes, wasn't it? It was that kind of monotone, lower register stuff. When
she was quite dull in these documentaries.
Well, it's like I said, you have to sort of divorce the Parallel Lines Blondie that you hear in the studio of that studio album from their live shows, live performance at that time, because she sounds nothing like that live. That was total studio producer really laying down the production thick, so they could get an album out that the record company could get behind.
I mean, they're a great band. They're part of our youth, aren't they, really, Blondie? Absolutely.
Well, sort of. I think they're part of my younger youth because...
Oh, yeah, God, I
remember hearing a lot of Blondie because obviously I've got an older brother and he was well into it. And I remember being quite enamoured with her look when she was on Top of the Pops and stuff way back then, and thinking, she was looked very different to everyone else, and she was always quite sexualised and quite interesting to look at, for looking at, not for listening to at that time, maybe.
But she's a very talented woman, we have to say.
Yes, she is.
Oh, yeah. But
but as Adie's point is right, the band, I would argue, very much more so, and especially the guitarist and the drummer. Drummer's insanely good. Yeah. Amazing drummer.
Yeah. And all of them. There we go. There was nothing released on the 18th of December and nothing new in the charts on 18th of December and nothing new on the 25th of December. So I'm afraid
that's a disappointment.
I know. I'm sorry. There's nothing more to actually cover. So that's it. That's it for the albums for December 1988. Any comments, Gary, before you head off into the wild?
No, I'm thoroughly enjoying coming on your podcast and chatting rubbish for a little bit. It's enjoyable, and I hope even if one person gets a scintilla of enjoyment from listening to us talk crap about music, well, then we've put a little bit of positivity into the world. It's a magical thing.
It.
High hopes, Gary. It's high hopes.
Well, we can only hope. We
got high hopes. There we go. So thank you very much for coming on, Gary. It's always much appreciated.
Yeah,
we do appreciate it. Your knowledge is existential.
Existential. It's always a pleasure, never a chore.
Good to hear. On that note, we're going to go take a break. We'll be back. We've still got how many more games? We've got another 4 more games to come after the break. So we'll be getting into them. So please do stick around. Prestinum on course. I'm almost there, ready to deliver David Hearn's books, including Back in Time for a Donut and The Case of the Notorious Roboticist, to a bookstore near you. Let's just bypass Targ and...
Oi! Where's that copy of Escape from the Commodore 64 you promised me? Dave's latest book.
Oh, not you again. I thought I lost you outside Gamma 5. Hey, did you just fire at my ship? Says I've got some conflict damage.
I'll give you conflict. Looks like your Nova Drive is shot. Literally. Tragic, that.
Computer says I'm on a collision course with Targ.
Options, you can crash into Targ, and it just so happens I'm also the mayor, so straight to prison for you, or you can give over that last copy of Dave's latest book.
Yeah, in exchange for what?
Let me see. Aha! I've got a spare Nova Drive back here. How about that?
Okay, I can't do mercenary again. Deal. Dave's latest book, Escape from the Commodore 64, is all yours. There.
Oh, I love the cover. There's Paradroid, Impossible Mission, and Law of the West. Get your own copy. You're not having mine at davidhearnwriter.com.
Can I ask a quick question, though? How would you keep me in a prison that only has lines for walls? And we're back. We hope you enjoyed that. That was the albums. We've got 4 more games still to come in this episode. Let's waste no time. Let's get straight into them. And like we started the first part off with, this time we have Professional Ski Simulator.
Ooh la la.
Ooh la la, indeed. Just replace skateboard. Ski for skateboard, and you got the same thing. Could we just paste in there's some isometric movement, and it's just the so it's got the word simulator in it. It must be Codemasters Professional Ski Simulator. It's here to give us a real taste of speeding down the slopes and trying to get through the flags before time runs out. That's it. That's what this is. This was coded by the Highlanders, being Andrew Graham on code, with Stuart and Robbie Graham on visuals. I'm getting a family vibe there. Maybe some brothers or dads and brothers and uncles, whatever. I don't know. It's got Steve Barrett on audio again. Best thing about it, this game, is the music. Nice music. Steve Barrett's doing some decent tunes of late. We've sort of listened to a few of his, and he's knocking some good tunes out, Mr. Barrett is. I've never heard of him before. I used to have a friend called Ian Barrett, not Steve Barrett. Actually, Steve Barrett was his brother. I wonder if it is his brother. Probably not. Might be. Anyway, there's not much story here, with the box just tasking us with experiencing the thrills and spills of the downhill racer. That's it. What else do you need? So these simulator games, they've been, should we say, varied in quality.
Just a bit.
But this one actually makes a decent first impression, asking you to put your names in for player 1 and 2 before treating us to a decent tune on the title screen, as I said, and a high score table complete with some nice raster bars moving through the entries and a nice scrolling message at the bottom. All looks quite nice, that title screen. It's good. It uses good colours as well here, all blue, grey and white, which is nice theming with the snowy setting of the game. So it's got a cold, a chilly feeling to it, which I quite liked. That title screen. So nice bit of thinking going on there. So I thought, okay, I can get behind this. Good stuff. We can press 1 or 2 at this point to start the game. Now, there are always 2 skiers, but if you choose one, then the other is computer controlled. So in this game, there are 7 courses to get through, and failing to complete any of them in the time allowed means game over and back to the title screen you go. That can be a bit frustrating if you get fairly far in. A bit tricky, but there you go. The first one takes place on Piste 1, which is Saalbach. I think they're all named after... I didn't get through them all, so I can't tell you what they all are, but I think they're actually named after proper sort of ski run, shall we say.
I believe they are, yeah.
Yeah, and we've got 60 seconds to complete it. So the view of the game is from up in the air again, and front onto the slope. It's I don't know, is it isometric? Is it? I don't.
It's something.
It's kind of you're looking straight down, but the way they've done it, the slope stuff go off to the side. The slopes of the course are coloured and graded. The effect is okay. Our skiers are single sprites, quite small. But they're coloured solid blue and red, so they're pretty easy to make out against the mostly white and cyan backdrops. So like I said, and your slopes that you go down, they're kind of graded, colour coded. More cyan is the sort of steeper the slope and stuff like that. You kind of get used to it. There are flags that you've got to go through. There are bumps, sort of raised humps, the trees and huts, and I thought it actually looked okay for a budget title compared to some of the others we've seen from this range. It put me in mind of BMX Simulator a little bit, in that kind of sort of small, from a distance style. It has that sort of, and that kind of shading going on in some of the sort of, like we saw in BMX Simulator. It kind of has that kind of feel, but for snow, really. The controls are simple enough with you needing, so they're very similar to Pro Skateboard Simulator. You need to, but in this one, you press fire repeatedly to build up your speed. And then when you head down a slope, you can hold down fire to build up more speed. So if you're heading down a slope, you hold down fire, tuck in as you do on a slope, and you can get more speed up as you go down. Left and right turns your skier a fraction at a time, like I said. And so, yeah, it shares controls similar to BMX Simulator, I guess, because that was fire to go faster. And so this owes a lot to BMX Simulator, I think, except it scrolls downwards rather than a single screen. You've got to get your angle right for the slopes, as hitting them at the wrong angle will make you stumble. And this does that thing that BMX Simulator did, and that when it stands you back up, it points you in the opposite direction to that in which you fell. As that, I can kind of see why they did it, because they probably think you're going to crash into a tree, so let's point you the other direction. Not always the case, though. Something I'd just be clipping something as I was heading down, and so now I'm heading up the slope. That's no good. And then forces me to take time, because you have to sort of jig to turn around, and it's not really particularly smooth, and that was annoying. So I'm losing more time trying to turn around than I did from the fall itself. The screen also shows on the right-hand side a satellite view of the course with the two skiers moving down it, represented by blue and red dots. And if you're playing two-player, if one player gets far enough ahead, then the other one has to use this to try and navigate the course, which is just impossible. I mean, that's just it's just impossible. It can't be done because, it doesn't show the slopes or the bumps, so you've no idea what angle to be at or where to go or anything like that. You just kind of head for the flag and then you've fallen over. It's a stupid addition. You're either off the course or you're not. You can't see it, so that's pointless. So it's game over if this happens. If you make it down to the bottom in time, then it's on to the next course, and that's it. And there are 7 to do, and I believe there's actually a Yeti that makes an appearance on the last one. There's a Yeti, I know. As these games go, it's £2. It's not terrible. It's a bit slow and a bit dull. The graphics are functional at best, but they do their job. It just never feels like I'm hurtling down a piste at speed, steering between flags as I go. It always feels like I'm just jiggling along, trying to find an angle not to fall over. It's like old people skiing. It's like left to right, and then you get the wrong angle. You're like down, and then I'm facing the wrong direction. Old people skiing. So what this feels like, it's just it's a weird one. It never feels like it actually, you're supposed to be, it says on the back of the thing, experiencing the thrills and spills of the downhill racer. Half the time you have to go directly left to right and around and up. You have to go back up to get around to the flags. That seems to negate the point of the downhill racing somewhat. I don't know. If they had stretched the courses out a little, not made it so cramped, and actually allowed you to gain some speed, and actually downhill ski, what's the skiing one? Was it World Games?
World Games has got it, yeah, slalom.
Yeah, World Games. I mean, this attempts to be something like that, I suppose, but it's nowhere near as good as the entry in that. That has you left and right, going downhill. This has you almost going sort of side to side. It's far too much, and sort of jiggling around and press the fire button, and it just doesn't really work. Stretch this out, it would have been better. It's just too cramped to really provide any sense of the thrills and spills that are promising of downhill skiing. There's not much more to say about this. It's all right. I mean, in 2 players, in 1 or 2 players, there's some nice bits, there's some nice graphics, they're okay, but it just feels £2. It's got 73%. Again, I don't think it's worth that high. It's an average game. It's in the 50s for me. What did you think? Did you like this, or did you get on with it? Or
no, not really. I mean, I agree. I think my comment was 73% for what?
Yeah.
Another kind of, not horrible, but not great controls. And the controls are what you live and die on with these kind of games. I mean, the intro part, like you say, looked the part. And it's sort of, and the kind of the sort of mini microness of the game kind of set me a little bit at odds once I'd started in it with its odd controls and its kind of micro view. Because it's kind of a box in the middle, isn't it? The graphics looked snowy and looked wintry and ski.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, that's looking quite good. But the controlling it was really bad. I never felt like I was really in control, because I think it's because it keeps reversing your direction and keeps, and if you there's no trying to get used to this. There's no, I don't know how long you'd need to give it to try and start to do it, but the in is not as quick as World Games and the slaloms. Then why would I spend a lot of time doing this?
Yeah.
So the game backgrounds I thought looked quite nice, but the scrolling was jerky, which is, I can't forgive it now for something, even at budget level for this. It's not like there's a lot going on the screen here.
No, there isn't.
And it had that map of this thing down the side, which is a good idea. It just needed to be a bit bigger, I think. Just it all felt a bit tiny and a bit cramped. And I know that's the kind of the Pro Simulator MO is this tiny. It's tiny, little tiny things, but it needed to just be a little bit bigger here. I find it hard to see what I was doing because it was so small. And then the computer player, by the way, was clearly some kind of world-class Winter Olympic superstar because he shot down that slope like a perfect. Which also doesn't make you feel great when you're desperate. I was facing the wrong way, crashing off the slope, hitting the things, and this guy's just like, hey, done.
Yeah, it's like Franz Klammer to your
exactly
your hands crapper.
Absolutely. It's all a bit zoomed in, a jerky in a box, not very nice to look at, doesn't play very well. If you could persevere with it, maybe you could start to sort of get to grips with the controls and you might start to, get good at it, but I don't think it is only £2, okay. But £2's a lot of money if it's rubbish. This isn't rubbish, but it is only, I would say, very, very, it's 30 to 40% again. Why Zapped gave it 73% is a mystery to me. The really weird scores for these games, and even the reviews don't kind of add up to it. It just doesn't make any sense. So, no, I didn't get on with it really. I thought it looked wintry, but it left me out in the cold otherwise. Hey!
You here all week. Why?
Why? He won't go. We've tried everything.
Absolutely. Down the slope with you. Slowly, side to side. And then back up a bit to get through the next gate. Pointless. Yeah, it's not great, is it? There we go. Pro Ski Simulator. It's kind of what we've come to expect from these simulator things.
True.
They peaked with BMX Simulator. They were never any better.
No, that's very true.
I don't think. Not ever. Oh, well, never mind. Let's move on to our next one. We've still got 3 more to get through. Let's hope, for God's sake, something picks up somewhere. And the next one, Graham, is the arcade conversion. We've got an arcade conversion in the house, and it is 1943. I think it's a subtitle, but I can't remember what it is.
I think this is just 1943.
Okay.
It might have, the arcade might have a sort of, it's the Battle of Midway 1943 in the arcades.
Ah, right.
Not here though. This is published by Go. Copyright Capcom, of course. Developed by Tiertex. These are the champions that made the European version of Street Fighter. Yeah, and Rolling Thunder. And the musician
that wasn't too bad actually. Rolling Thunder, I didn't mind that one.
The musician's Mark Tate. So, I mean, it's not a lot. It's not like there's a great deal of story here. The gameplay is described in the inlay as a paragraph. As you blast through the flak-filled sides in your mission to destroy the Japanese battleship Yamato, you will need to shoot anything that stands in your way. By collecting power symbols, you collect secret weapon, enabling you to increase your firepower. The smart bomb will destroy enemy units on the screen, but these are limited. Rolling enables you to roll the plane to prevent you from being destroyed. Right, that's it.
Yeah.
That's your instructions. I hope you enjoyed them.
I did, loved them.
1943, The Battle of Midway is a 1987 vertically scrolling shooter arcade video game developed and published by Capcom. God, me teeth in. It was the first follow-up to Capcom's earlier 1942. Sort of makes sense that they would call it 1943 then, really.
It would, yeah.
And like 1942, this is from the wiki, despite the game being created by Japanese developers, it had the player-controlled Americans attacking the Japanese air fleet. This was due to being one of the first Capcom games designed with the Western influence, apparently. Something like that. In Japan, a Game Machine, which I guess is a magazine, listed 1943 in their July 15th, 1987 issue as being the most popular arcade game at the time. And it went on to become Japan's second highest grossing table arcade game of 1987. Crazy. So this is the official 1943 arcade conversion, not the 21% scoring 1943 1 year after from Grieve Graphics that we looked at way back in episode 46.
That was the one where you were shooting ghosts, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's not that. No, this is way better. That scored 21%.
It's 9% better.
So this is a vertical shoot 'em up, or an attempt at one, anyway. A half-decent version of the arcade intro screen for the loading screen, okay. Mm-hmm. And then the crappy, blocky logo of the game title screen will welcome you nicely into what is to come, along with some pretty whiny music. Things aren't going to be great from here, I'm telling you now. It's F1 or F3 for 1 or 2 player, so the game begins. Now, we've had a lot of vertical shooters that use the full screen, or a good chunk of it. Yeah. They all scroll well and have moving and animated sprites. 1942, for example, troubled though it was, had at least those parts reasonably well covered, I like to think. Not so much this game. The game window is a small square in the center of the main window with some text below that for score and lives, etc. The view is as these games are, so it's a top-down view, obviously, but it's badly realized and weirdly colored combat aircraft will slowly launch and perform a really slow loop-de-loop over what looks like the tuners above the nut part of a Fender guitar, which I'm guessing is meant to be an aircraft carrier.
I think so.
Why the deck is yellow and brown? Well, that's something only the artists here will ever really understand.
That was to confuse the attacking Japanese fighters back in 1943. That can't be a ship. It must just be a giant walnut.
It's a giant neck of a guitar. It's a giant Fender. Enemy aircraft will then zoom, and I'm using that term very loosely, over a less than smooth, I would say jerky scrolling background with occasional clouds. Badly drawn clouds, though. When you draw clouds, you don't just draw a white sort of squiggle and then put little cracks in it. That's not a cloud. I'm just saying. No, it needs a little bit more thought than that. The enemy planes look like they're on yo-yo strings because they dangle around more than shoot through the sky at you. And they're supposed to come in kind of waves, but most of the waves are shoot straight down, go off to the left. That's kind of the pattern here. Destroying these will give you power-ups that are little power letters, which to upgrade your weapons. You'll soon be both powerful. You will soon be both powerful and at the end of the extremely short levels, though. So you get the power-up, and you're like, wow, I've got a power-up. Dun, 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 end of level. What already?
Yeah.
And then as the next level judders into view, you will see more planes, mostly similar to you, only slightly darker shades of the same colour as you. And enemy ships, which will shoot at you from their brown decks. And note, by the way, you don't get to keep your power-up from level to level. So that resets kindly for you. So you'll get towards the end of that level, which isn't, by the way, indicated in any way. And so you're flying along, you think, I'll get that power-up. Ha! That was a pointless exercise, wasn't it? It's gone the second you get to the next level. The levels last about 10 seconds, maybe 15.
If you're lucky.
Crazy short. And you get like an interstitial between each one. Dun, 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 dun. Like, really?
Yeah.
I need to feel like I've achieved something other than take off and go, end of level. Well done. Well done. Now, stage 2. Wow, well done. That was good. Stage
We're all
3.
counting on you. Surely you can't be serious. I am.
It is, yeah.
Surely these can't be the levels.
Over Macho Grande.
I'll never be over Macho Grande. Howie caved in. No.
Yeah, Howie came unglued. No, Howie was a rock. Anyway, and so it goes on. Mini levels after mini level after mini level. You'll fly. You'll see an interstitial. You'll fly. You might pick up a power up. You'll see an interstitial. Airplanes will dangle down from the top of the screen and then boing back up again. Brown decked destroyer ships with 3 cannons on, badly animated, will fire at you. Maybe. I mean, I actually flew through an entire level where nothing fired at me. Nothing.
Nope. Yep.
There was literally nothing firing at me. I was like, that's a short level, but it was easy. I mean, it didn't do anything. I don't know. And I looked at the arcade on YouTube, and it's nothing like this whatsoever.
No,
this couldn't be further from the arcade if it tried. I mean, we'll agree that it involves aeroplanes of a sort. Well, that's as far as it goes. The arcade is frantic, shooting, crazy, explosive action with the ships are on fire and loads of drama. This... Yeah. End of level. End of level. It's really crap. Really, really crap. Now, I take it great exception to this crappy conversion on a number of counts. Firstly, the relative emptiness, the crap graphics and sounds, and everything in the game and development, and everything with the content is an abomination in every way that it can be. In every way, this is horrid. Every way. Also, the music, short and sweet and borderline okay, but I guess that's where it begins and ends, is what you can say about that. So again, it's just totally forgettable. But the real clincher here is for me with this is that this game is C64 territory. I mean, it's vertically scrolling with sprites shooting about on a machine that's got a chip designed to scroll and 8 hardware sprites. Now, how you go about making a game that has jerky scrolling on a machine that has a chip setting for smooth scrolling, especially in that direction, and the ability, even if you just kept it to 8 sprites, even if that was your limit and you thought, I'm not doing a multiplexer because I don't even know what I'm doing. Even if that was the case, you've got 8 sprites, which means if you take your player out and you use characters for the bullets, and in this game, that's principally what you're doing, then you've still got the 7 sprites, which you can use. You can do 7, not the 3 or 4 that menace you in this bloody thing, let alone the crappy ships. It's just this, for me, if you take the time and effort, you could have created a really good game for the C64 here. Instead, you have actually created a literal piece of programming shit. That's what you've created. Now, how it scored 41% is absolutely beyond me. This is not just terrible. with all the games that we've
It's got
played in all of the
30%.
time. Sorry, yeah. Why have I written 41?
Because that's the next one.
Oh, that's probably why. So, what? Yeah, it is. God, yeah, super scores. So, how this scored 30%, how this scored a percent really is beyond me because it's terrible. Now, it feels, not only does it feel unfinished, and I suspect it probably is, or rushed. All right, eliding all of that, there are some things you can't forgive. We've played a lot of upward scrolling games on the C64. By now, the way of making the screen scroll, I think we've got that sort of sorted. There's been loads of budget games we've played where the game hasn't been great, but the scrolling's never been a problem. Also, we've played loads of games where there's sprites coming at you and shooting at you. Loads of top-down shooters, loads of them. Not all of them were successful, but all of them competent enough to get those two basic things right. What they weren't was slow on a game that's based around its speed. I mean, you're flying an airplane on a military battle, and it's also based sort of on historical battles as well. It's all a little bit unforgivable for me. And then to expect people to play full whack for this, I think you're dreaming. This is just, it's a blatant rip-off. Even back then, I mean, I cannot imagine any planet where this scores anything other than, just in maybe 8 or 9%. There needs to be a clear message sent that this kind of crappy arcade conversion is not tolerated. They will not tolerate them on a machine that has done and has proven to do so much better. There's nothing to like with this. It's another in a long line of crap arcade conversions on a machine that has proven that it has the chops to do it. Take a note, take a step back, save your money, and go and buy any one of the other shooters that we played recently that were way better than this, including Armalite. I know it's not the same orientation, but it's a lot better and a lot more fun than this piece of shit. This game can do one. But what did you think?
Yeah, this is a real monkey's paw example, isn't it? We said, give us shorter levels. And they did.
You did actually say that, didn't you? You did.
No, you did. You were saying that because you said it a few times, like, it's got really long levels. If they just cut them in half, it'd be much better.
Did.
Give us shorter levels. They did. They listened.
God, we did.
Back then, they listened through the time machine vortex and went, okay, we'll give you shorter levels. These are so short, you blink and miss them. Like you said, you take off, there's an enemy, and you go, oh, well done. Like, I didn't do anything. I did nothing. And there's nothing to do. There's no challenge in this. I mean, I walked through it. I got bored. I got bored before I got to the end of the 30-second level. There's 32 levels. I got bored before I got there.
Yep.
And I don't think I lost one life, I think. And that's because I wanted to see if I was actually had some kind of trainer on or something. I thought, can I die? Oh, yeah, I can. Okay. Just ridiculous. This was, it's got visuals that make a 1984 game blush.
Yep.
Just dreadful. It's just
River Raid was better than this.
Yeah, that one we played. Yeah, it was. Yeah, what was that one we played the other week? That one from the guy who did Spin Dizzy. It wasn't great, but it was all right.
Yeah. Well, it's way better than that.
It's way better than this. But this is a complete stinker. Hook, line, and stinker to go with the naval, naval theme in here. We're awash in scrolling shmups, whether vertical or horizontal.
Yep.
So foisting this out in the public is criminal. Trained on the name alone. It's 1943. It's the arcade. Hopefully, though, by now people are sort of getting. I would have thought people are getting a bit like. You know what? Just because it's got the arcade thing, we've had a lot of crapcade shit.
People are going to start to wonder if it wasn't Crapcom, not Capcom.
Yeah, true, yeah. An awful conversion and an awful game, shamed by numerous budget releases, let alone the big full prices like Armalite, Salamander, and so on. Just atrocious, flickery, ugly mess. Awful. 1943, this is go. Yeah, they can go and do one as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
Dreadful. This was awful. 30% is, that's too kind. Too kind.
Yep. Single figures.
Yeah. I mean, that's nearly 1% per level, and it's too much because they're only half levels. So half them, 16%. Not
even that. In the space of time you've been talking, I've completed 90 levels of that game. And I'm not even playing it.
Well done.
It's the Ewok. Well, it sounds like an Ewok.
Take off, Lance.
It's Ewoks praying at C-3PO. Is he playing a game? He's done 6 levels of this already. How's he doing?
Oh, dear. Awful, terrible thing.
Crap.
1940 crap. There we go. That's 1943. A big round of applause. Let's move on to our next one. We've got 2 left. This is Final Assault. This is another full price. This is anyway. Yeah. Just before we get going on this, I'm just going to give a shout out to the crack we had for this from Nostalgia, which had an amazing version of the Final Fantasy opening theme on it. An absolute cracking version of it. A brilliant version, actually. I've sat listening to it for ages. That theme has a lot of memories for me because I played so much Final Fantasy VII back in the day that as soon as I heard it, I was like, that's Final Fantasy. Why am I hearing a Final Fantasy tune on the C64? But also, the zip of this was called Final Ass, which is a film I think I saw once.
Once.
Just made me laugh. I opened it up to Final Ass. Oh, yeah. We're nothing if not highbrow. Anyway, mountain climbing. That's what we have here. So this seems to be the US version of the original title, which was Chamonix. Is it Chamonix Challenge?
Something like that.
I think that's what it's called in Germany, I think. But it was called Bivouac, I think, in France. So it's got a few titles, this. Bivouac, Chamonix Challenge, Final Assault, Final Ass, whatever. This version was being released by Epix. And like I said, the original version was made by Infogrames. We remember Infogrames, don't we? Music is by Charles Calais. You may remember him from Lee Enfield and Sidewalk.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. I'm going to come out here and say that this game is odd and the control system is over-designed and overly complicated. Just to give you a heads up. But we'll come to those bits in a moment. So it's a big old multi-load disc. It was disc only, I think. When this finally loads, we have a confusing menu system. Well, it might have been on tape as well, but we played this disc. I can't imagine what this is like on tape. A nightmare. When it finally loads, we have a confusing menu system where we've got to first choose how many climbs we want to make. Now, you can control this with keys or a dot, like this moving dot that sort of hyper speeds across the screen at the sort of, just the flick of the joystick sort of goes across the screen. You're like, no, I just want to move there. Just move there. Oh, I've overshot again. But you can just press the sort of initials of any of the options that you've got. So it's probably best to control this through keyboard, and that sort of makes sense for a lot of this, actually. So we've got we can choose how many climbs we want to make. I think 1, 2, or 3. I think, or we can do some training, or we can resume a previous climb. We're then asked our name, what time we want to set out. Why would you want to set out in the middle of the night? Stupid. Just set out in the morning, after breakfast. What time of the year? Summer or winter? Why go in the winter? It's going to be harder. We've got 6 routes up the mountain, which are represented with so these are represented with a side-on view of the said mountain. There's a big sort of mountain range, and there's these lines that go in up it that represent different routes up the mountain. It doesn't really mean much if you don't know anything about mountain climbing. It's just like routes up a mountain. There's just lines up a grey blob that's on the screen. So it's impossible to judge what it's like, really. So we can choose which one and select it. Then we can pack our rucksack with loads of different items. This is confusing because I kept clicking on them, and you have to actually press space, I think it is, and then you can clear everything out and buy it and get what you want. It's a confusing menu system, let's put it that way. But there are loads of different items, range from ropes, ice pins, pitons and straps to crampons, soft shoes, a helmet, anorak, a gas stove, matches, rum. I don't think rum's a good idea to take up on a mountain climbing, if I'm perfectly honest. I mean, it might keep you warm, I suppose. There's food and drink, which is probably a better idea, and loads of other stuff, tons of this. All this weighs an amount, so you need to make sure not to carry too much, because I don't know, if you carry too much, it would drag you off the side of the mountain, I guess. But you need enough to survive the climb, so you need to work out the right amount with no knowledge of what is to come at all. So you don't know what the good stuff is. You just got these options and stuff. It reminded me of that other Epix game, 4x4 off-road racing, where you had to choose loads of stuff with no information on what's necessary. You're like, okay, so, give me an in here. Tell me we suggest this. It's like, because when you first do it, the rucksack is packed with stuff. You're like, oh, I don't know. Once that's done, you're onto the game itself, and we now get to control our climber as they attempt to ascend up the mountain. Here the screen is split into 2 sections, the bottom half of which has some information with the time, the altitude, and the temperature, along with access to your bag if you press the space bar. Again, unintuitive. Doesn't say to do that sort of thing, and you'd think it's not very user-friendly, this, and all those things you packed in it. At the top, we can see our climber, and now you have to walk them first across some flat sections at the base of the mountain. You do this with alternate left and right movements that correspond to the climber's legs. Now, this is confusing at first, because the first movement you have to do to move right is move left.
Yeah.
That's like, this is not intuitive. Why can't I just hold right?
Yes.
I mean, I know
it would make more sense. Why do I have to plod?
Yeah, it's like I'm not playing an epic sports game where timing is a sort of thing. I'm just walking across a mountain flat thing. But no, we've got left, right. So don't make me do this. I didn't like that at all. On the next one, there's some gaps to be jumped across, and you have to press up to do a heroic leap. The heroic bound is back.
It's a mighty bound.
He's like, "Hey!" as he flies across, complete with a really full rucksack. I mean, he's strong. He's got some good old strong thighs.
Strong legs.
Yeah, he's strong. He's strong on his thighs. And then if you fall down a gap, though, you plunge down. I'm not sure if this is automatic, but I fell down a couple of times. You just cling on at the bottom and then have to climb back up, and then you're back at the top. Don't know if you can actually fall.
You can actually grab halfway down and pin your snow axe into the thing and climb from there if you're quick.
I didn't. You don't die anyway. You just go down a bit and then you come back up to try the screen again. So if you make it through these scintillating challenges, you get to actually start the climb itself. We haven't even got to the climbing yet. So this climbing animation, you see your climber on the side of the mountain, and the sort of UI now has moved off to the right, I think, or the left. It's on the one side of the screen. So now you're sort of hanging onto the side of the mountain. You've got side on view, and you press up until the climber's hammered both climbing hammers into the ice. Then you pull down to raise one leg, and then you press the fire to move up about 5 pixels, and then you repeat and repeat. It's stupid. It's a stupid control system. It's like, it's like, I don't want to do this. None of this is enjoyable. At the top of the screen, you move on to another one and do it again. Oh, for God's sake. It's not done, though. You make it past these, and then you get another climbing section where you see the climber from behind, and you control all 4 limbs, moving them about to get purchased on the surface. And some of those limb movements look mighty unnatural and painful to me. I had him
Twister.
I had him straight. Yeah, it's like mountain twister. That's not a good place to be on the side of a mountain. Like, why's my leg? Why is it's like joints don't move like that way. Joints don't have, ball joints. They don't move that way properly normally. Anyway. It's not right. It made me go, ooh, when you look at a body, you go, oh, that shouldn't be. Yeah.
Snappage.
There's a lot in this episode where things shouldn't be, that's not how things happen. And this is another one of those. Those limbs are not moving like any human I've ever seen. The problem was, it just is slow and boring. I gave up at this point. I'm like, this is boring. Really, really, really boring. It's so slow. It's just slow moving anything. Trying to get anywhere up this mountain is, I don't know, I get it. It's mountain climbing. It's not going to be fast, but why do it? It's dull. This is utterly lifeless. The control system is boring and stupid. There's no satisfaction in ascending upwards, and trying to wrestle your limbs into a position to climb it's just ridiculous. There's no real payoff for going through the choices at the beginning. It's just the same. I just tried different versions. I got the same. Tried different things. I was climbing for a bit, and then my guy halfway up the mountainside just went, "I am thirsty." Well, tough shit. You're gonna have to wait till we get to a flat bit. Because I know you have some kind of weird multi sort of jointed arm, but I can't reach into the backpack right here and get you a drink. Just wait. I am thirsty. Don't care. You have to deal with it. You can go like 5 days without water. You've been gone an hour. Stupid idiot. The main sprite is okay. I guess the main sprite is okay when you sort of go left to right. The one where you're climbing up is ridiculous because the legs and stuff don't work. But the background's a real mess of colours and shapes, not very pleasant to look at. They're all the mountainside is just this horrible grey mass. Then there's the sort of ground and snow bits. They look better on that Pro Ski Simulator. Yeah. The main title screen tune is okay, I guess. It's actually not too bad a piece by Mr. Calais or whatever his name is. It's all right. But the rest of the game is like speakers, hello, is there any sound here? It's very quiet. There's nothing. There's no ambience. There's no atmosphere. It could have been, if you go up the mountain, you could have had a bit of just some noise, a bit of wind or anything like that. There's nothing. There's nothing to keep you entertained anyway. Boredom just sets in quicker than frostbite. This is not one to go back to. Just a dull and ultimately pointless endeavour and representation of a sport that's sole prerequisite is doing it because it's there. That's what mountain climbers say, isn't it? Why would you climb that mountain? Because it's there. Okay, well, that's here. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Why are you playing this? I don't know. There's nothing there. Load of boring, overly complicated controls. Final Ass was better. That's all I've got to say about this. How did you find your Final Assault? I wish it was my Final Assault.
I thought Final Assault sounds like a really cheap late 80s movie, like with Glenn Close and something, doesn't it? It just sounds like one of those sort of movies, The music that you're referencing there, by the way, the Final Fantasy music is by a chap called Glenn Rune Gallifoss.
Ah, right, okay.
From the group Nostalgia, so it's done in 2002.
Ah, okay.
But yes, very good it is indeed. Do that one. Very good. So 41%, was it this? I mean, what the hell was that title screen? Giant scrolling words. I mean, I suppose it's different, kind of demo-like, and I suppose it's different, but anyway.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, I think. I actually thought that was actually part of the demo intro, the crack intro.
Yeah, I did
sure.
for a while, but is it part of that?
I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Anyway, weird title music, but good. Nice sounds, actually. Okay.
Yeah.
Lots of loading, though, in this. Kind of, the loading was a bit heavy, wasn't it? So it was loading this and loading that. Loads of options, so many options. Select your routes and your back pans and your stuff and what do you need? What kind of socks do you need? Do you need a thick yarn, a small? What shoe size are you? I don't know. I don't know. I've never climbed a mountain. I don't know what you need. I would imagine the one thing that was missing off there was Kendall's mint cake, which I'm pretty sure is very important. Where's the mint cake? Damn it! No mint cake. I ain't going on the damn trip.
That's all I came for.
I didn't come for any of that crap. Give me the mint cake. And to hell with you if you haven't got it. I didn't like the controls in this. I got used to the way it looked. I thought it looked wintry, and it looked kind of like you were doing what you were doing. All right. It felt like it was a little bit of the event that never made it into one of the Winter Games thing, Games Winter Edition. So the waggle to walk thing was weird, and that's that one. I kept falling through the ice because you could poke the ice, can't you? Poke the snow with your pokey stick.
Yeah.
Is it safe? Pokey poke. Is it safe? Poke. Oh, it isn't. I fell down anyway because I was jumping thing just completely threw me every time. So from an outsider's observer's point of view, I just walked along, made sure that I'd poked a hole in the snow and then jumped in it.
Fell down.
Blatantly fell in it and hacked my way out on a silly slope. And if you didn't make that, by the way, you could die and you fell down a long trip, like a long grey cave thing. And then it was like a really overlong sequence where you died and it like scrolled a message and you got all this long stuff.
Oh, right. I never died.
And then so you can't, then you start the whole game again. So
great.
So, like I said, and I sort of hacked and plodded my way through this as best I could, doing my heroic leap, periodically just jumping into a crevice and climbing my way out. It was all a bit, and this is because I didn't have the right equipment, clearly. And I started to get a bit bored of doing that, because I died a few times and it loads it back in as well. There's loading in amongst all that. I was like, oh, it's just a bit painful, that. And then I just thought, as I got to the sort of next bits, the controls get stupider and stupider. And every time they increase the complexity of how to control your little dude, the game starts to get more boring with every extra control they add. The point of these kind of games, I get it. Like you said, you climb a mountain. I don't expect that to be easy, but make the hazards of the game, not the controls of the game. I shouldn't have to be, this isn't a game of Final Assault sounds exciting. What it isn't is use the controls that you have disposal to climb up a mountain, and then just increasing the complexity of the controls. If they said that, if they described it by level 10, the controls are so complex you'll want to tie your hands in a knot.
You must control each finger.
Exactly. Where do you go with it?
And choose when to breathe.
Exactly.
And then amongst all that, it keeps going, I am thirsty. Off.
I get the idea of what they were thinking. I get it, and some in a way they kind of capture it, because I imagine if you're into this kind of thing, doing it in for real, like, is probably very exciting and frightening and daunting. But in this, take all that excitement away, and it's just an exercise in controlling somebody at 5 pixel increments, and that's not fun for anybody.
With limbs that would make a mannequin, like.
I know. By the time I got to that point, I felt awkward, because I thought, if I move that arm, that is breaking his arm. What I'm doing. Yeah. And I'm just, and I felt, you've seen the remake of the movie Suspiria, where they dance a woman gets all contorted and cracked and broken.
Yeah.
I felt like I was doing that to him. I'm thinking, oh God, I felt that. I already dropped him down 3 giant, holes in the snow and glacier holes and hacked my way out again. I feel bad for now, snapping his limbs and breaking his ankle. Anyway, I got tired of just endlessly trying to control the game, and I almost forgot what I was doing, really.
Yeah.
And that's never a good thing, is it? So now, Final Assault, not for me. It was 41% is probably about right for what it is, because it's kind of a snowy, boring control system. Other than that, there's nothing much to it. So
no, Final Ass, like I said.
Yep.
Final Ass.
Yep.
There we go. It's Final Assault. Oh, we've got one more left. Can this episode be salvaged? Can it? Let's find out. Graham, Bubble Ghost.
Well, in answer to your question, can it be salvaged? All things point to no. All things point to no, really, with that. I mean, goodness me, Bubble Ghost. God's sake. I don't understand what goes through people's minds with things. This is published by Accolade, believe it or not. Yeah. Developed by the Programming Partnership. Now, if that isn't a blatant way of not naming who did it, I don't know what it is. But anyway. Right, I'll just read the paragraph of blurb that's in the instructions. The crazy inventor Heinrich von Stinker is dead. Or so we thought.
Who?
Heinrich von Stinker.
God.
Or so we thought until the night. I've got
nice. I
know that. Heinrich von Stinker and the Night Watchman. Or so we thought until the Night Watchman told us his fantastic tale of the haunting of von Stinker's old castle. Yes, it's been confirmed. Heinrich's spirit, aka Bubble Ghost, for convenience purposes, I'm guessing, has been seen blowing a bubble throughout the macabre halls of his ancestral. I can't speak today. Heinrich's spirit, aka Bubble Ghost, why is he called that? We don't know. Has been seen blowing a bubble throughout the macabre halls of his ancestral home. Why? That isn't the way ghosts work. Ghosts, under my estimation, don't haunt people by blowing bubbles around.
Would explain a lot.
Your job is to help Bubble Ghost move the bubble through the 35 rooms of the castle, past all the mad inventions of von Stinker. Once the little ghostie makes it through, the haunting will cease. But isn't it's the ghost of von Stinker
that's blowing the bubble? So it's the ghost trying to commit suicide in some weird way. He's already dead.
Anyway, Bubble Ghost is indestructible. He can touch and cross over any object without injury. Unfortunately, the bubble is not so lucky. If it touches any object, it pops. And it says a special note in the instructions, the ghost may touch the bubble without popping it. You start with 6 bubbles, 5 in your bubble pouch, plus 1 you are blowing on. Oh, dear. But you can get more. See extra lives. The number of bubbles shown at the bottom of the screen indicates the number of bubbles in your bubble pouch. Okay?
Yep.
To move the Bubble Ghost must blow on it. To blow, hold the joystick. Oh, who writes this? Who writes this shit?
To blow, do it slowly.
do it. It says, hold the joystick in the center position and press the joystick button. I'm pretty sure I've heard. I'm not even going to crack a joke about that. No, that's. It's rich material. The sauce is too easy. It's too easy, Adrian. Too easy.
This is an episode with brown helmets and final ass in it too. Don't forget.
I know. I can't. My wife's in the room. I can't say the joke I was going to say. It's terrible. The distance between the bubble and the ghost affects the strength of the blowing action. The closer they are, the more the bubble moves. Don't blow too long without letting Bubble Ghost breathe, or he'll turn red in the face and you'll lose points. That's just general advice in all situations where you might find that advice works.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. In addition to blowing the bubble, Bubble Ghost must blow on objects in the castle to clear the way for the bubble. See tricks and techniques. I'm not going to go into those tricks and techniques because I don't want to. It's really silly. So there is a chapter there on effective breathing techniques as well.
In out,
yeah. In the tricks and techniques section, by the way, it says, in addition to secret passageways, there are other mysteries in the castle. Bubble Ghost must blow on certain objects to clear the way for the bubble. We don't want to give it all away, but if a candle was making things a little too hot for you, what would you do? And what about the fans? You'll never get by unless you discover their secret. Check out the box the manual came in for some quick trumpet lessons. These hints should put you on the right track.
Trumpet lessons?
And then just as a thing I think you might find interesting, it says at the very end of here, in the credits a little bit, Bubble Ghost was designed and programmed by those crazy guys at Infogrames in scenic France. That explains everything. They're the same ones who brought you Pinball Wizard. That explains it all. Okay. Enough of that. I mean, first thing with this, oh my God, the music. That music. I
don't think you can call it. I don't think you can call it that, can you?
No, you can't. Commodore font title screens, Adrian. We're in 1988 now.
Yeah.
People have the ability to draw typefaces and use them easily. You can change the character set ever so easy in a Commodore 64. It has a setting for it and everything.
Yep.
Then the game is there, and the annoying sound effects in that game actually had me shouting, "Make it stop!"
They're not great.
To which everyone in the house thought, "What's he doing?" And it's very difficult to explain that you're playing a game where you have to blow bubbles and you get, don't get red in the face and all that. So where do you begin with? Where do you begin with this bloody horrific thing? The game is a flick screen puzzler where you control a ghost that blows a bubble around. Great. Being careful to avoid hazards that will pop your bubble.
Yep.
You control the ghost with the joystick moving around in jerky mode. He's a jerk, and he moves around in jerky mode. So you move it around that way, holding the fire button and moving the joystick to rotate the ghost for better blowing angles.
That's what you do.
Move your joystick for a better blowing angle.
It's that scene. Isn't it that scene from Ghostbusters?
It is exactly that. And then you press fire to blow. When you do this, it will propel the bubble around, and your aim is to get the bubble safely to the exit bit on each screen, which is normally off to the left. You start at the right, generally.
Yeah.
Stopping you are, of course, spikes, candles, and generally things that are hazardous to you or your bubble, including walls and everything. Everything is hazardous to your bubble. Everything. Which
is true to real life.
Yes. Bubbles aren't known for their robustness, are they?
Nope.
The main game window is sort of the greater chunk of this, actually, with the level drawn in high res and a sort of a medium res mix a little. At the bottom is the logo, the high score, hall number, and the number of bubbles you have remaining. If you start off with 5, remember, 1 in your pouch. 5 in your pouch, 1 on the screen. Mm-hmm. And we also have some credits, etc. So, it's just in case you forgot you made the game, there they are again.
Yep.
The ghost is a high-res thing, which looks weird when it rotates. It kind of distorts its shape weirdly. So instead of just having a sprite and rotating it on, from the center, this thing kind of goes, I was like, why is it longer at that angle? Why is it,
It's a ghost.
So I don't know. Something went wrong with the rotation. Something went badly wrong. And the bubble is also a high-res thing. It's basically a white outline with some wibble animation, which is pretty what the ghost is. It's a solid white wibble with a sort of a ghostly face on it. Ghostly face. On some of the levels, you have mini puzzles to work out. They're not that hard, really, to work out, challenging. These would challenge maybe an ape. But your average human, when they see a candle and you're in a game called Ghost Bubble, but you got to blow things around, Bubble Ghost, it's not out of the realms of possibility to think maybe I need to blow that candle out.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, it's not like it's hard to figure out. So, in fact, most of the challenges in this, since your only action really is blow, they all involve kind of blowing on stuff.
They do.
This is the game, I think, possibly with the most blowing we've ever had, which is interesting in of itself.
Yeah, I can't think of another.
It's the blowiest game, because remember in Dragons there was a bit of blowing, but this has got more blowing in it. I think this is significantly more.
But that was you being blown.
Yes, it was. And we were playing the game as well. Hey. Anyway, so that's kind of the game, really. That's it. You go from room to room, hall to hall, trying to blow your bubble across the hazards to try and get it to the exit thing, and things will try and stop you. And there's bonus things and loads of stuff you won't be interested in. Loads of it. Now, I think there's a germ of an idea. There's a germ in there somewhere, as an arcade kind of puzzler, maybe. And I think this is a conversion, because it's out on the 16-bit formats. Now, I don't know if this one came first or the 16-bit one came first. They actually look kind of identical. They don't look that dissimilar to each other, weirdly. So, either the Amiga version's a really crap version of the C64, or the C64's a really crap version of the Amiga. Neither of them are great. But they are what they are. The C64 is generally more capable of creating the look and feel for this kind of thing better than this. So if you're going to create creepy, spooky backgrounds and things like that, just take a look at Cauldron or Cauldron 2 or any of those kind of games that have that kind of creepy vibe or haunting castle vibe, and they all do it better than this. So that's obviously the route to do it. That kind of combination. So this one doesn't really have any of that. So I felt that generally the C64 is better, can do better, and the sprites as well. They could be smoother. The moving the ghost around is a bit jerky, which is odd. You think you have to work hard to make sprites scroll jerkily on a C64. You have to actually, I don't know how you do it. I don't get it. Maybe they're just not moving them in very, 1 pixel increments or something. But anyway, it is what it is. The audio is just plain fucking annoying in every level it can be. Every single hall has a different sound that's designed to drill so far into your brain that it's like being trepanned by the C64 on every screen. It's awful in a way that I can't really explain. Experience it for yourself, but don't do it for too long, I think, because I think that is the route to all madness. I'm pretty sure it's one of those sounds that perpetually designed to drive you mad. There's a few sounds that that are designed to do that, aren't there? Under the hood, there might be a gentle puzzler in here, I guess, maybe for kids or something. I don't know. It's got that kind of feel, but Casper the Friendly Ghost kind of vibe about it. With a bit of razzmatazz, maybe it could have done a bit more of that. I mean, I don't know. Talk about a game that's just crying out for more production. Give it some spooky sounds, not crazy sounds, spooky sounds or speech or anything that would have given it a little bit more. I mean, even as simple as it is, in Cauldron 2, you get the and the witch's cackle and all that kind of thing. You can't tell me the C64 can't do thematic sound effects of things. Think of Impossible Mission with the sound of the lab, and all that kind of stuff, or Power Droid, or any of those games that have atmospheric sounds. Mm-hmm. It's the one thing that C64 can do very well. What you don't need to do is create torturous things, and then just to create spooky looking things. I think there's mileage in a game where you have to get an object from A to B in a challenging puzzle-like environment, whether it's a bubble or otherwise. I think there's mileage in that. It just didn't play out very well, and it didn't look the part. It felt a bit empty and unfinished and unpolished, which is odd for an Accolade game. So what we end up with is a wibbly-wobbly, somewhat dreary game that is clearly missing something altogether. It's missing something about it. And it's quite difficult as well. Those first couple of screens, you'll have no problem getting blowing the bubble around, but it does get very, very difficult because the bubble has inertia, and you can't move as fast as that when it goes too far, and you'll end up coming undone quite quickly with that. And I wondered if this is because maybe it was designed for mouse control, and so you can quickly move a mouse around and maneuver the ghost around. Maybe that's how it works on the Amiga. I don't know. Anyway, long and the short of all of that, it looked pretty much exactly like the Amiga version anyway. I don't know. I just found this quite annoying. Maybe it's a young person's game, but I don't know. Is it? It wasn't a young person's game price though, was it? 10 quids. So on your bike for me. I imagine £10 for a game that features a lot of blowing and may well have caught the attention of teenagers for all the wrong reasons. This is not really any fun or indeed funny. It's just an oddity, really, and a bit of a weird one for towards the end of 1988. What do you think? Yeah,
I don't know. Just as I say, by the way, just if you look in the agenda, I've put the original cover for this in, for Notarius T. You might want to have a look at that. It's
I'll have a look.
It's a very angry ghost. Doesn't seem to sort of be replicative of the...
Yeah, it's not very chirpy, is he?
He's also holding the bubble. It looks like some kind of the... what's it called?
That's a demon-looking thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like the orb from the Lord of the Rings film as well, the Palantir that he's holding. Not a bubble. Yeah. Certainly not like a bubble. Anyway, so that was the original cover. I don't know whether I was at a state when I played this that having gone through the previous 6 games, I was looking for the good in anything. Because I didn't mind this. I think if I have to pick one from this week, it's probably this.
Yeah. No, there's a germ of a game in there. It just didn't...
Yeah, it's quite an oddity. And it is, as you said, it's rough around the edges. It's okay. Essentially, it's a lower res and jerkier version of the Amiga version. Weirdly, this also came out on the Game Boy.
Oh, bizarre.
Yeah, so
it's not a bad premise for a game.
It's not terrible. So I mean, yes, it's on the Game Boy as well. So but it's like I said, the main premise is exactly the same. All versions look exactly the same. The Game Boy version looks a lot cuter. It looks quite cute on the Game Boy version. I quite like some of the ideas, like having to go and blow the candles out, and the sort of in the puzzles with what can you do with how can you use blowing as a mechanic. And it's okay as a ghost, you can't really touch anything, so you can just all you can do is emit sound. I don't mind. It's got an odd look to it. Like you said though, the sound is a thing of horror. It's a literal thing of horror. There's sounds in this that I was just like, is my sound card broken? What's happened? But it's something gone on horribly wrong. But but at least gives you the option to turn it off, which I did. I never played this on the Amiga, but I did have a quick YouTube look at it. It's the same game, only a lot smoother, and as you would expect, 16-bit. So it's a lot smoother. It's not as jerky. It looks nicer. The bubbles more nicely animated. It's exactly what you want. But essentially, it looks like the same game. If you're going to go play one of those, play the Amiga version now. But there's actually also as well, according to Moby Games, there was a release for Windows in 2018. Which is kind of odd. Yeah. It's kind of weird. Yeah. So, so there's obviously some mileage.
It's one of those sort of games that I could almost see it working really well on mobile. I mean, it's not, like I said, there is a germ of an idea there, but just the CC, I think it may be that audio that drove me away from this quicker. It really is horrible.
You are right. The audio is terrible, and I think that it's a problem with it. There's a like you said, there's a germ of an interesting sort of, you're having to blow this bubble, and the bubble can't touch anything, and you can go to anything. So there's kind of sort of a balance there, and and I quite like the way that the bubble had a bit of inertia on it, so you could hold down and blow it harder and faster, and then it would slow down and stop. There was some nice touch. It's not terrible. The Amiga version is the way to go, though. This is not a terrible alternative back then. It's perfectly average, 62%. 995 is a bit much for a really kind of simple-ish puzzler like this, I think. I don't know. It is what it is, though. But yeah, it is unfortunately the best of the week. Which is, I know, damning with faint praise, but everything else we've played has been final ass. So there you go, Bubble Ghost. I think I got into. I think it's like I had some kind of version of Stockholm syndrome going on. where I was just like, anything that was fairly decent I was going to like, and Bubble Ghost came at the end, and that was that, basically. Oh, dear. There we go. That's it. That's this week. Christ on a bike. That was Pro Skateboard Simulator, Peter Beardsley's International Football, Soccer, whatever it was, Battle Island, Pro Ski Simulator, 1943, Final Assault, and Bubble Ghost. Don't not a looker among them.
Yeah, it comes to a much when the highlight is a game where you're blowing a bubble around.
Yeah.
Out of all them simulator games and Final Assaults and Battle Island, a game where you're blowing a bloody bubble around. You're like, all right, you win.
You win this time. Oh, good Lord. I think we were saying this, weren't we, before we started, but I actually do believe that that's the worst selection of games we've had with nothing.
It's been a while since we had that. I can't remember when it was, but we had a real dreary patch one time when we really were chugging, and it started to feel a bit like that with these. So
I think there was sort of mid '85 when I think we had an episode we had a couple of episodes, only 6 episodes in.
Yeah,
I think we had Jeff Cape Strongman around that time and things like that. But I think also in those episodes there was Alter Ego and stuff. So
yeah, maybe
stellar games. But here there's just naff all, is there? Just nothing. So one can only apologise. We can only review what's there. We can only look at some of these games at 70%, which is why they get up against it, and it's what it is. There we go. Well, we're nearly through, Graham. We're nearly through December. We have
it's not long now.
We have 1 week left. Coming up next week, we've got Fifth Gear, Around the World in 80 Days, Joe Blade 2, Savage, Super Dragon Slayer, NATO Assault Course. I don't know what to make of that. And Cheapskate to round things off with. That's our 7 for next week. It could be better. It could be worse. Who knows? I'm not holding out much hope. I don't think 1988 is going to end on a big old high. Was you hoping for that one of those last few games to come in and knock us over socks? I don't think it's happening. I don't think it is. No. If you wish to support the podcast to help us get us through this lot, please do by going to patreon.com/Zap to the Past, and you can chuck us just a little under a $5 sort of thing. That gets you access to the episodes early, any bonus episodes we might put out, full episode stuff, opportunities to ask us questions for the Ask the Podcast episodes we do. You get to join us for crazy things when we do things like the episode 100 specials, advert free. Anything else I've forgotten?
Yeah, well, we've got the Bread Bin Awards coming up, and they get a vote in that, don't they?
So. Yes, there's the Bread Bin Awards, so our the patrons will get a say in that as well. They'll have we'll see what they think of that. So if you want a piece of all that, head over to patreon.com/Zap to the Past. All of the links you can find on our website and links and in the show notes and things like that. I can't do much more for this episode. I cannot find the energy or enthusiasm. You've gone very red faced. Do you just relax with your blowing? I'm trying to go
release the grip of your joystick a little.
Twist it. I can't because one of my legs is bent up around my head.
You've been playing Final Assault, yeah.
And I'm going. That's what's made it do it. Yeah. I think we should go. Let's not hold up. If you're still listening, well done. We're going to go, and we will see you again next week. As ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And we have been Final Ass. And you can listen to us again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zap to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zap to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zaptothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zaptothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapToThe, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zap to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zap to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zap to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.